What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of The Pylon Show. I'm your host, and I think this is our cleanest intro yet, assuming I'm not muted and you can hear me correctly. Look at the chat. They're not freaking out. That's it. 4 episodes. All right, we're done. Let's pack it up. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you all for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to go around the horn this time. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Artosis, Dan Artosis Timkoski, the man, the myth, the legend, the keeper of Tasteless, and the guardian of the Plot Brothers. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, especially after that intro. The keeper of Tasteless. Really, that's how this world will remember me at the end. It's been good, man. There's been like a ton of StarCraft in Korea. I feel like I don't have a down moment, but that's good. Lots of great games have been played. I can't wait to get into that later.
It's 2018. We just celebrated 20 years of StarCraft, and we still have jam-packed schedules of StarCraft. Speaking of jam-packed schedules, the world traveler, the globetrotter herself, we got Zombie up here. How you doing?
Can't wait to talk about Nation Wars 5. Very excited.
My God. I'm just going to go away if we start talking about Nation Wars again.
We were talking about that pregame show. I don't know if, we were laughing because the show's turned into just talking about Nation Wars. Don't worry, it's not on the docket right now. Let me go over the Jeff stuff here. You might hear a dog snoring in the background. That's my dog. You're hearing a train right now. That's because I can't fucking get away from trains. Everywhere I move, everywhere I live, there's a train. So I apologize in advance. But that's it. So Nate had to cancel. I do want to do that. Not everyone reads Twitter and that kind of stuff. Nate's got a personal thing going on. It is a pseudo emergency. Don't worry, he's okay, but someone close to him is in need of his soothing, comforting self. So he couldn't make it. We're really sorry. We'll get him back on eventually. Presumably, we can talk about subjects such as like standing on boxes to look taller than you normally are, or coping with large heads, that kind of thing. We'll figure it out. But we're gonna start off this show as one other thing to disclaim before we go through. Our very dear producer Cobra is on the road. He's picking up a buddy, and they're going to go play some video games together at a LAN, which means that, unfortunately, the production's going to be scaled down a little bit. Yours truly will be handling most of that in a second. So if there's any production issues this episode, I want you to still text or tweet at Rotterdam08. He is in charge of all production around StarCraft.
Jeff, I gotta say, okay, What if we find out that you are amazing at production? Because remember, you used to go to StarCraft events and you would cast them,
yes.
But then they figured out that you're really good on the desk. So nowadays, like, you go to an event, they're just like, Jeff, we just want you on the desk the whole time. But what if now you produce this so well that when we bring you to an event and you're like, are you guys putting me on the couch? Can I please cast a game? And they're like, oh, Jeff, actually, you produced that episode so well, you're going in the back room for this event.
We need you on the soundboard, actually. And I'm just like, fine. And I'm back there plugging in shit. And, it's a risk I'm willing to take. So without further ado, let's jump into our topics here. Just to give you guys a little bit of a roadmap, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We brought Zombie Garb on because she's a fantastic StarCraft personality, of course. But also, I really want to talk to her about and Nate was presumably going to be under this category as well, but breaking into casting. It's one of those kind of topics that a lot of people ask about, not necessarily specifically casting, although I find that interesting, but and also I want Dan to tell his story, because this is one of the great travesties of all of StarCraft, that people don't know what Dan and Nick went through to become who they are as well. So I think this is a cool subject, but we'll get to that in a second. That's the big subject. And then we're going to end with our Q&A, which is always in the Discord, so make sure and check that out. And Jeff will sell out himself and his body in the show at the end as well. So if that makes you vomit or you're really annoyed by that, make sure and time your departure right after the Q&A. Otherwise, I'm coming for the sweet $1 billion you got in your pockets. So this week in StarCraft, first of all, rather than be super organized and clear about this, Dan, you wanted to add something to this. Do you remember what it was?
This week in StarCraft?
Yes, it was the Nice Username Show. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Okay, so Nice Username. You guys might know him. You should know him. It's the guy. It's not just Nice Username. It's Nice __ username. But this guy, like, obviously makes a lot of great content out there, and he's got a new long form interview show. And so far, he did Wolf and Maynard. The Wolf one was about an hour long. The Maynard about an hour and a half, and it's just like a nice long interview show with a really great overlay. The StarCraft 1 Terran mission launch. And yeah, you can check it out at Nice YT channel is his YouTube channel. So like youtube.com/Nice YT channel.
Okay. And if a mod could post that in the chat, or don't try to do it if you're not a mod, because a Nightbot is vicious. But if you're a mod, please post that link. Definitely check him out. I love it. He talked about it was inspired by ItMeJP's old long format interview show, which is great.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, actually. I didn't get to watch like the whole episodes or anything, but it kind of felt like that. Those were some great interviews by JP as well. But it's definitely worth checking out. Mm-hmm. I really like that he's kind of doing this and grabbing some of these guys, and it was cool to see Wolf on that first episode because hasn't been that much StarCraft, so we haven't seen him, but he's still around, and just jumping around and getting people to know some of these people better. It's really great.
Very good. Moving along, we got Base Trade is trying to award up to $500 USD to help a player fly to compete in the now $8,000 BTSL Vancouver tournament that Base Trade is hosting. The qualifier event happens May 6th, but signups are awfully low. So make sure and check that out if you're a player of all different shapes and sizes. I see Cats in the channel. Cats, if you're not signed up for that, you're dead to me. I don't even care about your existence anymore. Maynard, you can probably skip the sign up, but if you want, you can go ahead and check that out as well. So it's on Team Liquid. It is, okay, a mod can post that in the chat too. You know what? I'm a fucking mod. I'll do it. Hang on. It's on Team Liquid.
You're great, Jeff. You're so good at this.
I know. See, you were worried that I was going to be so good at this that I was going to lose my job, but it turns out you don't have to worry about that.
No, I guess not.
There's the link. Okay, so yeah, check it out. Base Trade puts on great events, but it's for a good cause. And also, it's a really cool event that they've, I believe, already done one of. They've done a BTSL thing in Vancouver, I believe. Right?
No, it's the first LAN in Vancouver.
Son of a bitch.
Like, big one. There's Tales About Time years ago in Toronto, and then there was the Corsair, or actually the Ting final, at Corsair headquarters in California. That was done.
Wait, Toronto's not Vancouver? Oh my God.
I know.
Those Canadians are multiplying and like creating new cities and stuff. It's crazy.
Exactly.
All right, and then moving on, we also have Cranky Ducklings. This is actually kind of cool. They actually have a podcast they call the Pondcast, and I don't know who these people are. They could be talking about the most mundane shit, but the mere fact that they punned podcasts like that means I'm going to be checking out their stuff. But they're Cranky Ducklings on Twitter. They're doing all kinds of stuff, though. They're doing a Masters Swan Open. All kinds of puns circling around these ducks. It's a monthly Bronze to Masters 2 tournament. It does have I think it has some prize support, but definitely check it out. And then there is the Pondcast. And I'm going to read their description here. It says, where we mainly talk about our team, amateur tournaments, and amateur team leagues. Even though there are a lot of events, amateur players is still a very small niche scene. The goal of our podcast is to try and introduce people to them and hopefully encourage StarCraft fans and viewers to participate. Now, I know all of you guys are doctors in the chat, but some of you might be amateur StarCraft players as well, so you should definitely check that out.
I thought they were all pro gamers. I didn't know they were all doctors.
Well, if they had more time, they would be. No. Just a couple more here. Yep. Cyan Esports is going to be premiering his interview with Mr. Bitter on Twitch this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll go live on YouTube immediately after the premiere, and I'll also be hosting a rebroadcast in a friendly time. So that's pretty cool. You can check out if you don't know who Cyan is, by the way, he's been doing a lot of StarCraft content kind of sporadically for a while now. He's a great guy, and he's also doing some interviews too, so we're kind of rich on the interview content. But Mr. Bitter, because there's some of you don't know who that is either. That's a name I haven't heard since he moved on to Red Bull, stopped working at Red Bull, and is now some kind of exec at NYXL, the Overwatch League team. But he's a big esports guy. He was an awesome story, a lot like a Fear Dragon, where he just started making StarCraft content and wouldn't stop until people basically realized it was good and then got paid for it a little bit. So check him out. And then, okay. Last one on the This Week in StarCraft kind of news thing. Winter Gaming. Does he go by Winter Gamer or is it just Winter? Winter StarCraft, right?
Well, I think probably his brand is like Winter StarCraft or Winter Gaming, but he's just Winter.
Winter raised over $25,500 for the Gamers Outreach charity event that's going on right now. That is an absolute crap ton of money for people that don't know him. And it's awesome. So just huge kudos to him. You just, there's nothing else to say other than that's amazing. If you haven't watched his channel, he does a lot of stuff about kind of going from lower level to higher level. He's very in tune with his community. He's got a great stream, so you should definitely check him out. But with that being said, I think we're ready.
Wait. One more thing. One more thing
right.
This week in StarCraft. We talked about, I think we mentioned last week that Parting and Top had a little run-in, and we're going to do a best of 69 base trade.
I think that's a whole subject that we're going to move into.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's trying to. I mean, it's not on the docket. But...
Okay. So, anyways, it's really short. Parting won, surprise, 35-12, which is about a 3-1 win ratio, and they played different maps every single game. So there you have it.
Hang on. So yeah, Zombie, your thoughts as I try to.
I cast a good portion, 6 hours and 9 hours in total. The last was 69 took 18 and a half hours because it was all macro games. But of course, Parting and Top just like slugfest, super cheese, and as expected, Top got tilted off the face of the earth. Couldn't figure out a way to really bounce back, and it was fun because it was a bunch of like the old maps. It was a ton of old silly maps, whatever you could find. So it was fun.
Was it a real was that ever answered? Is it a setup joking thing? Because they were like kind of yelling at each other on Twitter and stuff, or is that?
It's more like Parting is just in general like a trolly guy. So he will drop. He doesn't drop Mule, but he'll build Nexus next to you as you start losing the game and just do really shitty things and kind of make you feel shitty when you're already in a shitty mood after losing a Parting in a very Protoss way, like Link's Rock all in. So of course Top gets mad at him and Parting just laughs at him. And now there's definitely a little bit of bitterness there, but I feel like Top kind of had to because he was angry after the couple first losses, and then I think he just had to embrace losing to Parting. So I think they're now friends again or something. Okay. They were 2v2ing.
The fact that they're 2v2ing together now and how over the top that was, it feels a little bit WWE to me.
That's what I was asking. Which I think Parting's a fan of, by the way. I don't think that's something Top thought of, but Parting is. Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely heard from other people though that Parting is legitimately he will hit you when it hurts, and even when you're like, "Hey, can you not?" He'll just make fun of you. So it's like a friend that just pushes the envelope a little too much. So you gotta forgive him and just be like okay, you're an asshole.
All my friends.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that kind of that describes me at times. Unfortunately, not that I try to necessarily, but so that's cool. There's a thread on Team Liquid if you guys want to check that out as well. I think there was also over $1,000 kind of raised by this stream that they then divvied up between the players or went straight. Did you guys see that part? No.
Oh no, I didn't notice that there was money divvied up.
Well,
I know that he was Rifkin was accepting donations for it in multiples of $69 or something like that, which makes it more.
You could cast it if you donated $69. You could donate 69 cents if you entered in the coupon code. I mean,
Mr. Rifkin's in the chat says the prize pool reached $1,000. That's really cool. I like. It's just a fun community thing, and it's kind of fun that went on. So, anyways, best of 69 went down. Parting won 3-1 in mat. Well, 3-1 in ratio. It was what was it, Dan? It was 31-15.
35-12.
35-12. Okay. Was that as dominant as you were saying? Because you were thinking it was going to be really bad, right? Or is that pretty on par? But they played some random too, didn't they?
I would imagine, but I don't know.
Was it all PvT?
I thought it was all PvT. As I said, I cast 6 out of 9 hours. I mean,
you casted 6
out of 9 hours. Wow, you even meet it up.
This is like the pyramids all over again. Everything about it is 6 and 9. So yeah, that's cool. I'm going to move us into our our main subject. This is the reason why my eyes glossed over earlier, because I was looking at our sheet and the subject's just literally not here, which is fine. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. But sometimes if something happens in production, actually just as a side, does this happen to you guys when a producer talks in your ear, like at WCS or something like that? Can you guys get through that? Are you okay? You can just keep talking about shit and be normal? I can't.
I turn half stupid while it happens. They start talking to me and my voice slows down and I turn from whatever I was saying into something vague.
Yes, exactly. I deal with it and then I basically go over and I don't yell at them, but I'm like, look, it's probably possible for you to just say break instead of we're gonna go to a commercial and then after that we're gonna do this and I'm just like, oh my god, it's time to go to commercial. So
it's so funny. In WCS2 as well, excuse me, that they're like pretty good about it because they know that for us StarCraft casters, some of us handle it okay, but a lot of us don't handle it very well. I've done a few broadcasts where I'm like doing an interview for a daytime television show or whatever. TV producers don't give a fuck, and all the TV like personalities that you see, they're talking and conducting themselves while a full conversation's happening in their ear about something, and it blew me away. Like I sat down
That's crazy.
For the documentary a few years ago on EG, and I had to do some like Canadian daytime interviews. It was really cool, but I would sit there and I was like, they're like, you come from us? Yeah, sure. And they're like, okay, going live in 3, 2, 1. And I would like start answering questions. They'd be like, Jeff, you're doing a great job. This is really good. I want you to sit a little bit more straight. Okay, they're going to ask you a question now about your mother. Oh, they already asked you a question about your mother. This is a good answer. This is a good answer. Good job. And the whole time, I'm sitting there like, yeah, that was my time in the. And they're like, are you nervous? I'm like, no. And eventually, I had to just be like, I just pulled it out and be like, oh, okay, now I'm a good speaker again. I don't know. Some people though, and again, when you watch TV and you watch those guys, whole conversation in their head, giant tangent. So the main subject, and it kind of works actually. The main subject I want to bring us into here is breaking into casting, and this is going to be a little bit of story time, but I hope you guys you've got your hot cocoa and your pillowcase and you're ready to go. Zombie, I want to start with you because I think it's been an amazing and cool journey for you. I don't want to make this is funny too. Please don't anyone take this as Patreon. I'm like Zombie, you've casted in France and you finally made it. Nothing like that. She's been a top tier caster for a while, but I think in the last year we're starting to see you at more events. You're starting to travel, and that is you've made it as a StarCraft caster. And I hope you don't take offense to me saying that, but like, what started you off with casting? Where did you come from? Why were you doing it?
Okay, yeah. I guess go back a while. So I started off playing StarCraft 2 because I played Brood War, or I played StarCraft on the N64. My brothers were into it. I know.
That's
got
even
StarCraft
harder.
2.
As far as I'm concerned, you took it way hard.
And
I
you're
didn't even know
still
there's
here.
man. Right?
Wow.
And then about 6 months in, I started like learning about esports and like learning that Koreans are the best and stuff. And then I started playing around like tournaments because back then there was like a ton of channels. I mean, if you watched a YouTuber, there was a channel that they had in game that you could join, and there'd be like a ton of people there. So I made a friend and we went to a tournament, and this guy, we didn't actually like his casting that much. He was casting the tournament. So we just did it ourselves without asking permission. And the guy who was casting got really mad at us, but the guy who was managing the tournament said that, he actually liked us and that we should do it.
Wait.
So,
hit pause. So literally, you're playing Nintendo 64 StarCraft. You heard about esports. You went to an event with a friend. You just decided you didn't like the casting and you took the seat?
No, this was in StarCraft 2, right? So I got to StarCraft 2 about 6 months in. I learned about esports, and then it was an online tournament, not an offline tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't just like go over and like.
I was confused.
I kind of thought you did. Okay, yeah, I was like, that's amazing. No. That's like Viking style casting.
That would have been pretty hardcore. No, I just.
Who was it that was casting that you really didn't like?
Dan.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
There's no way she's about to. Yeah, it's like. They went on to be a successful.
It was a GSL
day 9.
No, I seriously have no idea. I'm like I say I think I've only ever like disliked heavily one person, and he doesn't anymore. So no, but that was kind of the start, and then I just did like a bunch of casting, like Fan Wars, and just as much as I could find, YouTube, VODs, of course, figuring out how to do it. My big break, I guess, came with the MLG community cast that happened. That you get a decent amount of viewers. I'd been casting just because it was kind of a thing to do, I suppose. Mm-hmm. It was fun. I didn't make any money from it, but I thought it was good enough, and I was doing it while I was trying to also be a better player. So joining like clans and then practicing with them, and then also casting other stuff. So I just kind of kept on doing it. Basically, there was no really there's no big drive. I mean, I think everyone has.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Of like becoming like the next big person. I remember having a conversation with one of my longer term co-casting buddies in like 2011, and we had the whole discussion of like, if I forget who was back at the time. It was like if Apollo came up and asked like you to cast MLG, like would you do it? Like would you be brave enough or something? So I never had that like high of a lofty goal. But once I really got into it, like once the MLG community cast happened and I got like really good feedback, that was the first time I think I wrote on the Team Liquid blog that you guys could still read, I guess. But about the reception is like when I thought maybe I was actually decent at it. So then I applied for the DreamHack community casting and got accepted to that. And that's when I started really thinking about not being a pro, first of all, because that was never going to really happen, to be honest. I have terrible back and neck pain and just wasn't hardcore enough. So I just went into casting instead. Sad, backup plan. And that's when I was like, yeah, maybe I could actually try and do this. And I did DreamHack. There was WCS Challenger, but I mean, I don't even know what it was called back then. It was like in 2012 and it was all online and it was like me and Penguin and Maddles, but it was a consistent high profile gig. So I became more than just like, oh my God, it's a girl casting, to like, oh yeah, it's Zombie Grub, I recognize her. And then that's also when I started getting into base trade TV casting and
2012 area.
I think late 2012. I mean, I actually can't remember. I keep my Wikipedia up to date. I do my Wikipedia, not gonna lie, because I forget these things. So I go back and relearn what happens when it happens.
Let me ask you some questions about that kind of era though. Like, is it fair to describe this as you were saying you didn't go into this with like a clear goal of I want to be commentating the biggest league, the biggest tournament, this is my livelihood. You just were like, I like this, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
Did you have other work or other things you were doing at the time, or?
I was in college. I was studying to be an art major. So that just took up all my extra time, and I did it, as I said, like mostly because I had these like dreams of actually being a pro, like actually being a better player.
A competitor. Okay.
Because I guess my real true reasoning behind everything that's ever happened is I really wanted to travel. I saw people going to MLGs that seemed doable, like Masters players were going to MLGs on Quantic or whatever. So I was like, I feel like I could do that. And it took a long time, but it did eventually happen. And that was one of the big factors in why I continued pushing.
Dan?
Well, I'm still waiting for more of the story.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that was I wanted to pause because I noticed there's almost always a continued string anyways of people that like when they get a job in esports or specifically with StarCraft, because I don't know, I think it's all of esports, but it's gotten a little bit bigger recently. But like a lot of people are like, no, I did it because I liked it a lot and it became a job for a lot of people, and it kind of feels like that's what's happening here as well.
Yeah,
it sounds like that
for sure. I think around this time, IEM New York happened, which was the first New York event that I went to. I didn't even mean to go to it. I was going to Comic-Con, and it was there. And that was also when I had done a good job on the community stream. So Axlab and Axotos, who were casting LG in New York, invited me to come and be the community. They were a community cast, even though they were in studio, and they invited me to come in studio and cast. And that was my first studio gig. And I remember that night I was feeling elated because In Control had tweeted at me that he was impressed and hoped to see more of me. So like I called my mom.
I actually remember tweeting that, to be honest. No, because I'm gonna try to full on make you blush right now, but that was actually kind of a funny, because I've already made myself out to be like I don't know. This is the brutal, honest answer. When you see a female commentating a game, a lot of times you naturally kind of, and I hope this doesn't always remain true, but for now, I was like, okay, they diversified. They have a girl casting. That's great. But then when Zombie started dropping some fucking knowledge and had good caster clip, good handoffs, was like natural, was better than like 85% of the commentators I hear normally, I had this terrible moment, which I only share on a show because I'm so established that you guys can't kill me now. It's too late. I'm already a monster. So like, but where you have that moment where you're like, oh my God, she's actually a goddamn good commentator. Wow. So I'm glad that was nice for you, because it was just awesome to kind of experience where you're like, holy shit. But like I said, it comes from like a weird layer of pseudo sexism where I expect a girl commentator to not be as good, but you're killing it. you're paving the way and making it. There's some others too, but anyways, I'm off tangent just to make myself look bad. But that was awesome.
Oh, but thank you. But it's kind of another, I guess, the factor. Like number one was definitely travel, and then there was, I don't know if it's number 2, 3, 4, whatever. But there was always a line of jealousy. I wanted to travel. I saw these people doing it, and then I saw these girls doing it, and I was like, oh man, I'm better than them. Like I can do better. Like so that's like, I guess everyone has that internalized sexism or whatever, but obviously like I lost the bad attitude of like jealousy and just being like, oh, I deserve to be there, and just did the work. And so I went for studio gig, and then Base Trade TV really kicked up, so that became basically a full-time thing. We went to events, but never really did a bunch of offline stuff. Rifkin pushed for a lot of like bigger and better things. Awesome tournament organizer, which helped elevate me. And there's a bunch of conversation I'm sure that everyone knows about and everyone's still having, right, about like who is the better commentator and whatever, which you just you push past, you stopped looking at the chat, and I was having fun. But my original goal when I did decide like, okay, cast can be a serious thing, was to travel. And as I said, like a lot of people's initial aspirations were to just like to be at BlizzCon, to be at WCS, to cast with the best like you guys. So I always was pretty clear whenever I was asked, like I would want to do that. But right now the focus was Base Trade TV. This is like 3 maybe years ago or something like that. And that was fine. Like that kept me where it was. But like last year, a year and a half ago, I decided I wanted to push for casting, even if it wasn't, necessarily with Rifkin. I said like it'd be great if he came along with me too. I made a vlog before I went to Korea in 2017. Yeah,
God,
2007. No, 2016. And said like the exact same thing basically. And then I don't know if that ever, I never got to ask O Gaming or not, but I don't know if they watched the video and were like, oh wait, she wants to like do something separate, because in a month from that video, I got invited to do Nation Wars. And that was the big breakout, like regardless of everything else that we tried to do, like Hell's About Time and, want to do community casts, that was the first time that I was literally paid to go, and the flight was paid for. I was paid to go and cast something really huge and for a long extended period of time. And I got a lot of good feedback. I got a lot of people telling me like, you're going to be next on the WCS list and stuff like that. And of course that took a little while.
Another year, I would say, right? If that was 2016.
Almost. Oh, that was like literally end of 2016, right? Because Nation Wars bled into 2017. So it took 9 months, basically. I was invited to Montreal in August or something like that. So, and that's what I guess I feel like we're the story as I am right now, as people see me as a WCS caster, which is still kind of surreal. And like, I don't even know it's like 100%, but that's when things really kicked off. And I have to give a lot of credit to Nation Wars for taking the chance with someone that they really had the very little idea of how I would do in an environment like that. Like there were some studio casts that I did, but there's always that chance that I had no chemistry with Roddy or Todd or something, right? Like I couldn't keep up with the big boys or something. And they took that chance, and yeah, everyone liked it. So that helped propel a lot of, I think, of the movers and shakers, I guess, behind the scenes, and being like, oh, okay, wait a second, let's get her on board.
I have a couple questions, but I want to give a chance to Dan here. Do you have anything, Dan, then?
Well, do you make all of your living off of being a caster now, after all that?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the wait like because there had to be some sort of transition period, right, where you're making money in a different way, and then you're trying to get in, there's 9 months in between Nation Wars and Montreal and stuff, and like, what is that period? Are you like filled with self-doubt? Is it hard to survive? Are you quitting a job and doing extra? Like, how does that work?
I guess it's a good question. So I was fortunate enough that like I had this plan, being an artist anyways, that I was going to live at my parents' house for a while. But good news is I have a very good relationship with my parents. My mom literally just tweeted saying she was watching the show. Like, the post-college years where some people are trying to like, make their own way and get an apartment. I was just like, no way, I'm saving money. So Base Trade TV at like 3 or 4 years ago, whatever, almost 5 years ago at this time, like it wasn't a lot of money, but steadily it continued being more and more. And honestly, I did start saving a decent amount. I mean, not a ton, but enough to say like I have a legitimate job. I got to pay like legitimate taxes. Like I got to worry about this stuff. And Base Rate TV actually pays, quite well. And I was the partner on Base Rate TV up until 6 months ago now at this point. So we were splitting things pretty evenly. And that was actually perfectly fine. So I didn't have the panic attack that I think maybe like Nate would have, which would have been great to have on a show, because I think he did go through some periods where he was probably like, if I don't make this work, I'm going to literally fall on my face. I have to go back to East Coast. And no, I was always quite comfortable. My parents were supportive, and in fact, my mom doesn't want me to leave. Another problem entirely. And it was I guess on a kind of the same subject, like leaving Base Trade TV was a huge financial decision, because maybe without that solid casting work in between the big gigs, I would just crumble and die. And no, it's actually been quite good. I still find casting gigs that pay pretty well, and streaming is going pretty well for having really started it in the last couple of months. And yeah, not very scary for me.
One more question for me before Jeff.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff. Are you just doing StarCraft 2? Like, do you have qualifications to cast other games? Do you look for gigs in other games? Is StarCraft 2 work enough?
Yeah, StarCraft 2 is just purely what I do. I cast occasionally Brood War when people ask me to, like Sham 2, but me and Rifkin and I tried Overwatch on Major TV 2 years ago, I guess at this point. That was, retrospect, it was an obvious bust. They had their plans for Overwatch, and it didn't really involve a lot of the community. But there was also just, there's no community like the 1v1 community. I'm not even going to say the StarCraft community. Like, team games are so much more expensive. Team games are so much more saturated, it feels like. So a ton of streamers try and get on it. Like, could I try and jump on the Fortnite train? Sure, but I'd probably die. I do terribly. So, and it's the only game I like too. I'm fortunate enough to be picky that I'm just like, I could force myself to like Heroes or like Overwatch or whatever else appears, but like StarCraft is the only thing I've really ever enjoyed to it.
Good answer. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
So I want to preface it by saying I'm not fishing for drama or names, but I do want to ask you kind of the uncomfortable side of, I think, getting into commentating in particular, where, and this is, I typically ask really long-winded and complicated questions, and feel free to be like, that's a dumb question, because I think sometimes they are. But if there's something here, I'd love to hear it. Some people get into commentating, and they are kind of taken advantage of by some of the different casting company, like the companies that put on these tournaments. They hire them, and you come to find out later that you're paid like 1/5 of what some of the other people were paid, or some people are really helpful and give you really good advice. They help you out. Other people, there might be blocking or some of that stuff that does happen, and like I said, I'm not looking for names or something like that. I just want to know, how was your experience with getting going from a MLG community cast to full-on WCS commentator? Has it been a bumpy road? Has there been some moments where it gets a little sharky out there, or has it been pretty okay for you?
Well, I was fortunate enough that whenever something bad happened, I was usually with Rifkin. So if there was a moment where I was dicked over, it was usually we were dicked over. We just, we complained to each other and tried to move past it. And then, of course, there's like being, really good friends with Rifkin and partners with them. There's, of course, tenuous moments there as well, but you move past it as well. So there's never any point where I said I'm really considering quitting, or I'm considering that this environment's not good for me. I think I proved myself a little bit on the, the woman front, basically, right? We were talking about earlier, where very quickly people came to my defense instead of me having to go out and pick off the haters. Like, people would come and be like, no, she's cool, like she's fine, like she's really into StarCraft. And I felt that did continue forth into some of the higher ups. There's a couple times where maybe someone did get paid more, or we considered that we should have been paid more than someone else, but I can't really recall too many times where I was so jealous or so ticked off about the injustice.
I like that. I think it feels like, and it's a very unique experience. It kind of sounds like I mean, the non-unique part is that you came into this because you just fucking love it. You liked it. You wanted to travel, which I think is kind of the first go-to for people to take something more serious in gaming. They're like, I want someone or something to send me there. I want to do that on the road. But like, it sounds like a lot of your path, your ascension to being a top tier caster was with community and with peers around you, which is kind of cool. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is really fair to say. Like, I feel like there's this second line of people. I don't know how to put this in a very like eloquent or even like fair way, because I don't want to. I'm not saying old boys club or any shit like that,
no.
right?
And if you do, it's fine too to say.
No, but it's because people when you say that seriously, there's always the connotation that like you guys excluded us, which is just absolutely not correct. Ever since joining WCS tournaments, like every one of us has been taken care of really well. I'm talking like me, Fear Dragon, Wardy. So like I don't want to say that, but there is like this line of like these next casters that don't have Brood War ingrained in them. They weren't here for almost all 20 years. So like me, Fear Dragon, Wardy, Rifkin, some of the community casters like Rapid Casting, like I feel like there was this group of people that kind of were in the same area. They both like every one of us wanted to do better. Every one of us had like some dream of doing these big events. And when things didn't go our way, or when things looked a little tough, there was always this group of people to be like, can I join a community cast? Can I StarCraft 2 skills sharp? And so I never really felt like I was climbing a ladder alone against a bunch of superiors.
I think that's, and I'm going to move unless Dan has a follow-up, I'm going to move to Dan in a second here, but I think one of the kind of cool things to touch on there that makes me proud, because I actually noticed this in the StarCraft community as well, but when a game is first kind of rising, which is kind of this new thing that's happening, because if you look at a lot of the esports, they're old, right? Like Counter-Strike's been around forever, StarCraft's been around forever, but then there were these esport pockets that popped up, like Heroes and now Overwatch. They're trying to make Fortnite and PUBG into an esport, that kind of thing. But these like when there's like an established game, in particular like StarCraft, I've noticed that there hasn't been that, I don't know, and it's not fair to gloss over the whole thing this way, but mostly 75% of the time or whatever, there hasn't been like severe jealousy and backstabbing and really nasty stories. Like some come to my mind, but for the most part, I think it's cool because I do know stories in other communities and other games where they're like, hey, Blizzard or somebody's getting behind this game. We're looking for commentators, and there's some nasty stuff that went on. And this sounds kind of like sour grapes. Like I'm throwing like StarCraft's the only game that a good gentleman and lady. No, but it is something that happens a lot. Is what I'm trying to describe, and I'm proud because in StarCraft it didn't happen as much. I guess I feel like people were pretty comfortable with sharing. I like that.
Yeah, well, I think that when StarCraft was really big, there was so much. There was almost too much, so there was more room for people. And I think that if StarCraft had stayed at the very top, we'd probably have more sourness and stuff. But this is actually the fact that we kind of shrunk down a little bit to what I would call like a more manageable size has helped that. Like the thing is you can jump into a new esport. Any StarCraft caster could because StarCraft's got really great talent. But everyone stays because they like StarCraft and everyone's chill and friendly with each other. So it's really nice. It's definitely all my best friends are StarCraft casters. I just love hanging out with all of y'all. And when I go to an event, it's like a party because it's like, oh, I'm just around the people that are like me. I can finally be myself and have some fun. And I think that everyone kind of feels that way to some degree. So yeah, it's very nice.
We'll have a Pylon Show party episode or something like that, because it is so. We have to describe how fun it is. Like every time we go to these events, like Dan was saying, and with Jessica too, it's just like it's so good to see everybody. We hang out, we go have dinner with each other. It's nice. It's not. There's none of that like, oh, well, we don't talk to Todd because I saw Todd said something to like none of that ever happened. So no. Kind of nice.
Every single person is friends, and it's really cool.
I learned like a bit about a different, like I follow the scenes of different games somewhat. Yeah. Like I like fighting games little bits. I watch all of the popular ones that are getting up there. You just have
great taste on me, Grub, can I say? Okay, StarCraft and fighting games. I'm like, yep, that's it.
But I recently learned just like how crappy, I guess, a scene the size of ours could still be.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned was that they even like withhold information that they study from their casters. So like one guy will find out this like statistic of a hero or something. I gave away that it was heroes.
Well,
but
it's okay. That would have been
and then
one of the ones I would have
they'll withhold it. They'll just like they won't give it to their co-caster because then the co-caster might say it before them and then might get all the glory. And I was like, that's really messed up. Like all we ever do before cast is just talk about like in general like builds and statistics and what we saw in GSL and stuff.
I don't know. I would not enjoy it if it was that atmosphere but I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. I didn't know about the stat thing, but I've heard of like the angle I was coming from is there's like negotiations before an event. Not everyone's paid on the same level, and that's okay. Different commentators get different fees, but I've heard of other scenes where it's like, hey, here's how much I'm asking for, but also by the way, I won't work with so and so good luck figuring that out. And it'll usually be a pretty big commentator that's very secure, and what they just did is stop somebody else from getting the gig, and it's usually not because of a reason like that person once punched them in the butt. It's because they didn't like something they said on Twitter, and therefore they're going to try to hurt their business, that kind of stuff. We don't need to go too far into that, but it's nice because StarCraft we don't have that. Dan, I want to spend some time, and Jessica, by the way, feel free. You're a co-host here, so if you have questions, let me know or let him know. But Dan, I want to preface this by saying a lot of people don't know how you and Nick in particular became the commentators that you are today. And to me, it's one of my first go-to stories for how cool StarCraft is, but how amazing and lucky we are to have guys like you who work so hard to get where you are. And if you could talk a little bit, kind of like Zombie did, about where you came from and why you're here.
Oh, so like how I became a caster then?
Yeah.
So I never wanted to be a caster. The casting was completely a side thing because I wanted to be a gamer. And I mean, I played all the tournaments in StarCraft 1 and stuff. And so basically there was like a lot of great Korean content, and I wanted to have some foreigner content because the foreign scene was always very near and dear to me. I played with Koreans all night, but I played with foreigners all day in StarCraft 1. And, the non-Korean scene had a ton of talent and a ton of really great storylines and drama and all this stuff. So I put together with an old friend who people would know as Gentho. He was the Warcraft 3 American champion and played as a professional mat for a little bit. He was also a StarCraft player for a bit. So I was just very good friends with him back then. And so we put together, I don't even remember the platform that we put the videos on. This was like so long ago. This was 2006, I want to say, or 2007, or maybe end of 2006, beginning of 2007, something like that. Anyways, we made a tournament where we finally had, he recorded the videos because he had a better PC than me, and we both commentated, if I recall correctly, and it was called Ascension, and it was a sick format. Oh my god, it was super cool, where like one player of each race would be in each group, and it would be round robin winner stays for approximately 2 hours until we got an obvious winner of the group, right? So it was like cool because like I'm in there watching, like, I mean, if I say there's an obvious winner, there is, and there you go. And it's just, it was neat, and people really kind of enjoyed it back in that scene. And then like my next casting thing after that was TSL started up, and so they initially they were just going to use like Team Liquid mods, and they asked me to be on the first episode, and after the first episode, they're like, that feedback on you was so good. And you did such a good job. We're kicking everyone else. You're casting the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, sick. So I ended up casting no money. But yeah, I ended up casting all of TSL. Now, I think at this point, StarCraft 2, people knew StarCraft 2 was eventually going to come out, I believe, because they did an announcement event at some point in South Korea. I remember seeing it on the news and stuff. But basically, a big company out in Korea. It's huge now. The company that became SPO TV. Okay, so the SPO TV is the ones that put on things like SSL and things like that. It's the biggest sports network out here at this point. When they were much smaller, they owned the Team Istro. They owned the broadcast rights for Pro League and for MSL. So some big StarCraft 1 stuff. They contacted me because they had seen Ascension, and they wanted me to help them build a big website.
No way. I actually didn't know that part.
Yeah, so this is actually why I got to go to Korea. So they basically, someone from them messaged me and was like, "Hey, we like your cast. Can you do a couple for us so we can look at them?" So I did recorded a couple of casts or something on replays or something, sent it to them, and they're like, "Look, we would actually like for you to make VODs, like cast some of our stuff and make VODs for our website," which was scforall.com. That is gone now, but people might remember that if you're really old school. And so they started talking to me about what would I need from them to do this. And I said, well, I need to go to Korea. That's the only thing I need. And this was in 2008, right? So within the course of a week, or it was either 1 week or 2 weeks from beginning to talk to them, I was in Korea, right? So like suddenly I'm like, yeah, no, you want me to do this? I just bring me out there and I'll do it.
They flew you out.
And this was all a plan, by the way, to be a pro gamer. So I'm like, well, I'll go out there and I'll get my tryouts and stuff. I was in very good shape. I had just won the US Open. I remember actually a touching moment when I told you I was going to Korea and to do all this work and stuff. You're like, you might have actually won USA this year. I don't know what you're doing, Dan. And I was like, oh, Jeff. Anyways, so I go out there, right, on the promise that I would have a computer in the practice house of Istro. That never happened. And so I start commentating. I don't have a PC to play on. I have no so I just don't play StarCraft anymore. So I kind of got hooked into this thing where it's like, well, I need to make enough money to live. I know if I leave Korea, there's very little chance I'm coming back. So I just kind of made it work and casted and kind of was making a little bit of money. Obviously, Tasos was already out there and we were friends and became closer friends and started casting some together and stuff. And StarCraft 2 came out. I actually quit my job to be a pro gamer in StarCraft 2.
Well, hang on. This is the part that you're glossing over.
Oh, okay.
So when Dan says they didn't give him a computer and he needed to make money to live, the part of this that is amazing for me to hear, and he's not filling in, is that they also put him and like 4 other guys in a closet-sized space, and they treated you like subhumans. Like you know, they didn't like beat you, obviously, or anything like that, but they were just kind of like, get in the corner, white boy, commentator, do StarCraft stuff, whatever. You can stay here, but it's hot summer and there's 5 guys in this little room and it stinks, right?
Yeah, that's you summed it up pretty well. I lived in the Istro team house. Obviously, I wasn't really being treated as part of the team so much. The coaches kind of threw me on the side. I was supposed to have a PC when I moved over and stuff. Didn't get that. So yeah, they didn't really care too much about me or what I was doing. I was just, the bosses told them to let me have in there. I became friends with a bunch of them and stuff over time, but I did sleep on the floor of a hot, gross room full of dirty clothes.
Did they pay you by the VOD, or did you have like a salary, right? You were just...
Oh, okay. So the deal was for zero money. I just went out there. I actually borrowed some money from my family, about $500 total. When I was out, obviously you can't live off of zero money. The boss was actually very kind. It was like, hey, look, we're gonna give you some money every week. So they gave me, I want to say it was $100 a week, which you can almost eat off of. So that was really solid. Tasos bought me some food and stuff. So at the beginning it was zero money. I eventually did get a contract. It was not much at all. It was not enough to live off of still, but it was more than $100 a week, so that was nice. And yeah, and that was my StarCraft 1 casting career. Eventually, I somehow saved enough money and got a computer, so that was good. But yeah, and then I guess the only thing to go from there would be into GSL, the story of that, which is like StarCraft 2 came out. I was still just wanting to be a pro gamer. I finally had a computer again. I was saving because I knew StarCraft 2 was coming out. So I saved. Eventually had $800, bought a computer so I could play StarCraft 2.
Just imagine, guys, if Dan was actually good at StarCraft, we would have missed out on him commentating. Isn't that amazing?
Indeed. Who knows? One day I keep practicing, it's going to happen.
Still,
eventually enough people will retire, man, that I'll be all that's left.
The scene shrinks down. Dan's like, now's my chance.
It's my moment. Everyone good is retired and had to go to the military. Pro gamer once again.
Yeah, how did the GSL thing come about, though? So at this time, if I remember correctly, you were still doing stuff through Istro. Like, there's the SC for All website that then also spawned... I mean, that didn't directly spawn Husky, but the videos you were doing, Husky
Yeah,
emulated.
it inspired Husky. Yeah, like Husky was a big fan of all that stuff. So that is definitely true. And I mean, he did so much for StarCraft too. So the fact that we inspired him somewhat with the website and the videos and the commentary and stuff is really cool.
That was your salary position though before GSL, right? Like you were making
That's right.
You were working for that website.
Yes, I was basically doing Pro League commentary and MSL commentary, and I think probably all of it's lost to time. You know, we did some other cool things. Like I really lobbied heavy for foreigners. We got a bunch of foreigners to Korea to play as pros and to play in tournaments and stuff. So there was a lot of other cool stuff I was doing as well. I was trying to actually break away from commentary, actually, like because they initially just wanted me to do all the Pro League, all the MSL, and that's like a huge amount of content. It's crazy. And the thing is, I prefer doing other things like behind the scenes house tours and making my own foreign tournaments and stuff.
I forgot you did that. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I did a lot of different things, but truthfully, I didn't want to be a commentator. So I was kind of dodging out in that. And in fact, when StarCraft 2 came out, I took the day off work and I played for like 18 hours straight or something. And I played 73 games before I slept. And yeah, so I quit my job to be a pro gamer in StarCraft 2. So I actually quit that salary. And so I was making almost nothing. I'm like, no, I'll win tournaments and stuff. It'll be fine. You know, there was a ton of cups opening up and stuff. And I'm like, thing is, I'm crazy, man. I just take risks. I want to follow my dreams. And so I start running out of money pretty quickly. And I still have enough that I'm like, okay. And I was doing very well at the beginning of StarCraft 2. I was super high up on the ladder and, doing very well against top Koreans and stuff. And so then GSL, GOM TV was going to make GSL, right? So this was the big moment. And me and Tasis obviously are really good friends. We had casted one or two small things together. We had similar, senses of humor and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we went down and talked to them. And it was like it was not like high pay for commentary compared to nowadays, but when you counted up the amount of days, it was going to be by far the most money I ever made doing anything, right? Because we were casting like 5 days a week or something. So I looked at all that because I worked retail before I moved to Korea. So I'm just like a person that's always been poor and been cool with that. But yeah, it was too much money to say no to, and I could actually like buy food every day, and like it would be so sick, and like just all these good things. So voila, I'm a GSL commentator, and everything kind of flowed from there.
Very cool.
I had a question. How did you not give up?
Yeah.
Like when you were sleeping on the floor and they didn't give you a computer. I mean, how long did that last? And
let me answer before and then see if that's actually Dan's answer.
Okay.
I think Dan isn't aware of a shitty situation. Dan?
Well, okay, so for me that was like the dream. I don't care. I'll sleep on the floor. Like these things are not actually things that I care about, right? I lived in my mother's attic until I was 25, dreaming of being a pro. And I was a pro as far as American standards go. I was playing all the tournaments and stuff and doing well. But all I've ever really wanted to do, my true passion, is playing StarCraft. And this is what like kind of, if suddenly I don't like playing StarCraft anymore, you're going to see my commentary go like a big dip, right? And then I'm going to disappear, and that's going to be it. Because it's like that's kind of like what keeps me going. But yeah, so the giving up was just not like, I knew I had to stay in Korea to follow my dreams, so I stayed, and I would have, and I did do anything to do that. And yeah, I don't know. It's not that hard because it's like what I loved, and if people can find things in their lives, it's not like I have some sort of special will. I think it's just like I really found what I want to do, so it wasn't really that much of an issue for me to put up with that stuff.
I think
it was less.
Go ahead.
It was less about like living on the floor as much as it was like they didn't give you a computer. Like,
oh yeah, that's
you weren't actually doing what you wanted, so that's why I was like, how did you not give up? You still relish being in the environment.
Well, yeah, right. So the thing is, there's actual opportunities for esports in Korea at that time, right? This was 2008. Esports in America didn't exist. you know, my mom was quite sure that I would probably come out here and fail and have to go home and, you know, go back to work and stuff. And it's like, if you go back to America, the dream is truly dead. Like, you got a shot in Korea and then you have to go back, and it's like, well, you couldn't make that work. Why would it work the next time it happens, right? So it was more of a, I had a better chance without a computer in Korea at hitting my dreams than being at home. Because if you're sitting at home in New Hampshire trying to do this, it's truly impossible. Like, I actually got for instance, one tryout for a pro team while I was in New Hampshire. And they had a Protoss player. He came on and he just rushed me and broke my wall. And they're like, "You're too old. We don't want you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, that happened." Like, that's kind of heartbreaking. But if you're in Korea, right, you're showing gumption and stuff. So I thought there would be some way. I thought I could work into it, and I guess it didn't really work out. I'm not a pro gamer, as you see, but
it worked out in different ways. But
yeah,
Dan, you're a really competitive guy. I think you and I are very similar in a lot of ways. And one of the things for me, when I became a commentator as opposed to being a competitor, I needed something competitive in my life, and that ended up being Warhammer is what I kind of went to as my go-to for competition. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really see competition exist in your life now. So is it fair to say that kind of casting is filling that, or are you not scratching that itch?
Well, I am scratching the itch as best I can. I've done it a few different ways over the years. Like, I did play Hearthstone tournaments for a while. I had a fun time when I did some Heroes casting, learning that new thing, and I got up to rank 1 on that, so that was cool. But right now, like, I am actively, like, really trying to get good at StarCraft 1 again. I don't have a lot of time, so it's very hard. I have basically very difficult ladder sessions where little kids with 500 APM kill me, but that is where I'm trying. And, like, the thing is, I keep lobbying, I keep saying we need some tournaments and stuff in StarCraft 1.
So you would train for a tournament?
If they announce one, I'll go play in it. Like, I do have that competitive itch like you have. But the other games that I like to play, like, I mean, I used to be a Magic player, but it's StarCraft that I want to do, right? And I guess it helps me on my job as well, that I continue to try to be good. And yeah, I mean, like, for instance, you and I talked about it when they had the Masters Invitational Tournament. I practiced as much as I possibly could for that, and that was a nice little thing on my competitive itch. And I want more feelings like that, not like a caster tournament, but specifically, something to train for and that type of thing. So I don't really look at casting as competitive anymore. I think I did in the beginning when there was like a bunch of competition for getting, like, I guess everyone's trying to get their name out there as much as possible and be the best they could be. But I've got a steady show and all of us are friends and stuff, and doing our best together, so it doesn't feel as competitive as it was. It's just about making a good show.
I like that.
So it's, yeah. I'm
going to ask a couple of almost fortune cookie-esque questions. It's been an amazing segment. Thank you both. And if you need to cry, if you need to get real, that's fine. I'm going to ask just a couple that come to mind. If you guys have some, you can too. But to wrap this up, I want to ask, what do you regret the most about your casting career? And I'm going to start with Dan.
Regret the most about my casting career. Well, the thing is, I don't really regret things about my casting career too much because I've learned from them all, but I've definitely made mistakes along the way. But the mistakes helped, right? So it's like, for instance, I look at it now, like, there were times where I did a bunch of different games. Like, I think there was probably a moment where I was casting Hearthstone, StarCraft 2, and World of Tanks all at the same time, and maybe some other stuff occasionally, just randomly in Korea that people wouldn't have seen or something like that. But, obviously I learned from that. But nowadays I look at it and I think that everyone should boil down to one game, basically, because if you're a professional commentator, I think that the time of multi-game casters is kind of come and gone. In my opinion, people should really be focusing. So, but that's not as much of a regret, I guess. Like, I didn't take casting super seriously in the beginning. Like, I would go to an event early on, or before a night of GSL, and like party all night or something, right? And not be as well rested, maybe not do my homework as much. And now I take it much more professionally and take care of myself and take care of my reconnaissance before the event or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's all just learning stuff. So no big regrets, I don't think.
So I'll be looking for a better answer of you because we can learn from all of our mistakes. That's something that we were taught when we were 3 years old. But you go ahead.
Oh, rip. So I hadn't really told this story before, but I actually was invited to cast one of the Gfinities years ago. So this was 3 years ago, probably. So obviously that would have kickstarted like the professional, whatever, like top tier casting, maybe a little bit sooner because it was Red Eye who asked me. And I said no because he said that there wasn't any room for Rifkin. They already had all their play-by-play casters. So I had like tied. Basically, I was just like, no, I'm not going to appear without him. So maybe that could have been different. Maybe I could have been like jump started this train that's going by, just like the one in Control's house, a little bit sooner. But there's also the chance that I just would have done mediocre and wouldn't have been prepared, and it would have been garbage. So.
Yeah, I like that.
I actually do have a regret. You just made me think of it. I fucked up professionally with one event a long time ago. I was doing too many events in a row. I can't remember what year this was, maybe 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And I said yes. I just would say yes to basically everything if they would pay my fee. And then I did like a bunch of events in a row. It was like a DreamHack, an MLG, and something else right in a row. And then I was supposed to fly to Finland for assembly. And I canceled on them pretty late. And it was super unprofessional, but I was losing my fucking mind. It was crazy. Like, I was just going insane because I was just in hotel rooms and jet lagged over like 4 time zones. And like, I was not in a good place, and I canceled on them. And they never spoke to me again. Well deserved. So sorry, Assembly, that I fucked you over in that way.
But like you said, learning from things, I think that's one of the kind of cool things that the caster career. Because Dan touched on something that I describe as the yes man syndrome. Like, I have that problem too, where people are like, Jeff, we want you to do this thing. We have this thing we want you to do. And my natural go-to is yes, yes, yes. And then I pull back and think about it. And I'm like, actually, that one is crazy because it's just in the middle of everything and I can't really do it. Then I go back to them, or have in the past, and been like, I'll do it if you pay me more. And they're like, you already agreed. I'm like, yeah, but... That is so unprofessional, but it's such a normal thing to experience, I think. And then what you do with that experience kind of defines you as a person. And years ago, there's been dealings where I've done that, and I'm not proud of it or whatever. But I've learned since then to, when someone says, "Hey, we want you to do this thing," and there's someone listening right now like, "You just said yes to me in 2 seconds." I'm like, I fucking know, man. I'm working on it. All right, it's a lifelong journey. But you have to do a better job being like, let me get back to you, and then you got to consider all things about it. And it just makes you a better human in general, because let me just complete tangent, but on the side. But if you're that friend that's like, yeah, let's hang out Friday. Friday rolls around, you realize getting out of your house will take 10 minutes, and you're not going to fucking do it, and you cancel. You're a bitch, but also don't ever do that. So that's kind of related, something to learn from there. The other end of the spectrum, what are you most proud of in your casting career so far? And by the way, this is not like you're not done. You guys are both casting, so don't think of this as like, I'm asking because I'm like, well, you're both fired. You're out of here. It's more like, when you think back on casting, what do you like about it that you're so proud of? And this time we'll start with Zombie.
Well, I'm gonna go in with 2 things. One is the exact thing that I regretted. I also am really proud of. I would rather be like a person that considers others and is like, good to the people that were with me the entire time than someone who like steps over other people and is like, yep, forget that guy. Fuck that guy. I'm with you. So I was actually kind of proud of that. I don't really regret it. It was just a maybe that I always think of. And then my second proudest is actually getting to do BlizzCon and casting with Artosis. So
he's a good guy to commentate with. That's why I don't like Nick, because he hogs.
You guys are great.
What about you, Dan? Maybe not your most proud, but what are you very, very proud of? Let's simplify it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think I'm obviously proud. I've been doing GSL for a long time. I've done all the BlizzCon finals and stuff like that. I guess, well, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? Like the things I've gotten to do, and I've gotten to do, like, I guess all the big stuff, like even the Heroes of the Dorm, doing that on TV the first time. I was really proud of that at the time, and just some stuff like that. There's been some particular casts that I've done that I thought were really, really fantastic that I was quite happy with over the years. also kind of like proud of, I guess myself, and this would also include Nick, in the way that we try to continue to evolve over the years. Like, we're trying not to rest on our laurels. Like, we've actually, I don't even know if people have noticed, but we've been switching things up this year because, you know, we're on year 7 of GSL. And I think just the fact that we're trying to keep things fresh, I think is good. And I'm proud of us for trying to do that. Whether we're succeeding in keeping things interesting by doing that is another question. But yeah, I guess the effort put in there and not resting on our laurels.
I like that. We got a lot of commentators in the chat. We got Todd, Katz, Maynard, Caleris. A lot of you guys are in here. I really appreciate you stopping by. But I will say one of the coolest things as a commentator that people in the public can tell a commentator is that you're like, and this gets said to a lot of us, but it's really cool each time when you're like, hey, I got into this game because of you, or like, you make this game more enjoyable for me to watch. It might seem like a simple thing, or maybe it's not true, or whatever. Base trade, by the way. Shit, ripped into the chat too. Didn't mean to. I like named everybody but him. It's just really cool, and it feels great to hear that, because I think at the end of the day, one of the kind of weird imposter syndrome things we deal with is that at the end of the day, we're talking about video games. But for a lot of people, that entertainment, that the quality of life that we have a part of is very real for them. But to us, it's very easy for us to rationalize in our brain where we're like, someday I'm going to have to get a big person job, or like, this is only fleeting. But each year it kind of becomes more and more apparent that it's not. And it's cool to hear that it has a real impact on a lot of people as well. So thank you to you guys that share that. But that was awesome. Thank you guys for that really good segment. If you guys,
Jeff, hold on. What is your most proud moment in StarCraft Cast? You've been kind of dodging your own questions here, buddy.
I was thinking in my head that Dan might turn the table on this. I think I too am gonna have to shy away from most proud, because that's gonna take me like a minute or two to think about. There's been a lot.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm really proud of is this entrepreneurial spirit that apparently is really important to me. Like, I get really fulfilled, excited, and happy when I'm a part of something where I'm like at the ground level and we're building it up from there. And StarCraft, I feel like that. I know that a lot of the StarCraft people at Blizzard actually watch this show. I hope you don't mind me saying I'm planting a little bit of my flag in a corner of StarCraft, and I feel responsible for helping develop some of the things, having awesome conversations like Carmack and the DreamHack guys, and working alongside those people, and at different stages being like, hey, I think this would be cool, or this would be cool, or being that personality where they're like, that was awesome. And then all of a sudden in a CSGO broadcast, you see them taking some ideas, and just being a part of something for as long as we have, and for myself in particular, and seeing the little impacts, or seeing where our influence like really took off and did things, is huge for me. It gives me a little piece of ownership where I feel responsible for something awesome. And I'm like these guys, I'm hugely proud of StarCraft. So to be able to feel like, you know what? I did something. I was a part of that is something I'm extremely proud of. Thank you for asking. So we're gonna move it along. That was a big, long subject, but I love the shit out of that. And I like Zombie's recommendation that we get Nate back on here and probably do like we did the Nation Wars and just make it like a 7-week thing where we just keep asking. But I do want to ask Nate, because actually Nate had a little bit of a different journey, and there's been different times. This is just a teaser. It's almost not fair to say this, but I like Nate's story too, because there was times where he very realistically wanted to quit. Was like, this is not working. I'm going to look for other things. And he did face like the absolute reality, at least in his mind, where it's like, this isn't working. I'm not, for whatever reason. And that's kind of, it's cool that he persevered, but it's also interesting to hear the human side of it, because a lot of us, Zombie, Dan, myself, have the same story where we're like, we really liked it, and in the end, it worked out. Well, for other people, sometimes it's like, it's a little bit more stressful, and not to say that we didn't deal with stress, but just like it's different. So we'll do some more of that content. Thank you. That's my horn in the background. Boom. And with that horn, we can move on to the next subject.
And that's just your life now, right? You just bought that house, right?
The thing is, at our other apartment, the same train went by that too.
Oh, okay.
I can close the window, and in the future I will. It's one of those weird things where I really like the cool air, and then you don't hear the train. But if I open the window, I'm like, you know what? There's not a train right now, is there? Like, okay. So we got a few more subjects, guys, and then we're gonna get into that Q&A. This one is a bit of a doozy, and it's just we have to talk about it. We have to put it out there in case there's people that didn't know this, but also it's just an important part of StarCraft history. But TotalBiscuit, if you don't follow him on Twitter or his wife Jenna, you should if you do the Twitters. Tweeted out yesterday or the day before. I think it was, anyways, it's within the last couple of days. There is a Reddit thread on the Cynical Brit subreddit. I'm going to share the link in the chat right now. But so a couple years ago, and this, I'm going to tell the full story, and it's terrible. It's a terrible story, but it's real, and it's happening to someone that's one of the most important people in our entire scene. A couple years ago, TotalBiscuit contracted cancer, and they at first were like, "Okay, you have cancer. We're going to fight this." So they, TotalBiscuit being the stubborn bastard he is, and the fighter that he is, they fought it. It went into remission after a period of time with chemotherapy, and details here, by the way. This is secondhand or whatever, so I'm doing the best I can. It went into remission. He was given a clean bill of health, but whenever you have cancer, you have to come back in for routine checkups. Either it was like the first, second, or maybe third checkup where he went in, and the doctor said, "I'm sorry, you're terminal." And what that means is you have an advanced form of cancer that we can fight it to stave it off, we can hold it off, but the prognosis is this will be the end of you. And TotalBiscuit, again, being the fighter and the hardened son of a bitch that he is, didn't accept that. And him and his family rallied around him, and they fought it for, that was like another year. They gave him, I think it was something like a year and 15 days or whatever it was, to live. And one of the coolest tweets I've ever seen in my entire life was when that time happened, that day hit, and he said, "I'm still here, and I'm around." And all throughout this time, he was still making content. He was still doing what he could. He didn't let it get him down. He casted a BlizzCon. He kept doing the co-optional podcast. Like, he is the pillar of someone that is not going to let this define them and break them down. Well, that post that I just posted in the chat, and what they've been talking about is an incredibly difficult pill to swallow. It is that he is accepting, essentially, that this is going to eventually end his life, and that the treatment that they've been having him on, and the process he's been going through is not working anymore, and they don't have any alternatives. So in that announcement, he talked about how he's going to be kind of paring down his focus. He's going to hand over the keys to basically everything that is TotalBiscuit to his wife Jenna, and they're preparing for his departure from this life. And it's just it goes without saying, fuck cancer, obviously, but it also just goes without saying that he is an incredibly huge part of the StarCraft community in every which way, from commentator to personality. He had a team. They ran tournaments. Not a lot of people know this story, but like the Muslim wasn't with the team for a little while, and Jenna and TotalBiscuit, just out of like the goodness of their heart, paid him a salary in the interim so that he could be a pro gamer and just kind of exist in between teams. He's one of the guys that brought out Apollo, who would later go on to be a huge force in the CSGO scene because they don't have StarCraft-minded people there. And he's just done amazing things. The stories go through the roof with how he's touched the scene. So I want, before I turn this over to you guys, if you have anything, if you don't, it's okay too. This is not so much as I don't know, we'll see what it is. But I do want to say, if you haven't already, and if you have it in your heart, one of John's biggest concerns is that when he does move on from this life, that his family behind him doesn't have support and feels scared and is in need. So if you have it in you, Jenna's going to be doing the co-optional podcast. They're going to be doing some content. Watch it. If you can, sub to it. If you can, donate, whatever it is, the usual stuff for content producers. But just know that is what can really help them is to let them know that you're going to be there and support them in one way or another. And I'm talking with some people to try and find ways that we can help with that as well and do that what we can. But that's really hard. You guys have anything to say? It's okay if you don't. Like I said, it's just it has to be said. The subject.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's one of those things where it's such like a bigger, like larger than life personality that I think a lot of people just figured he would beat it. This wouldn't be the end result. So to be told like this is actually the guaranteed end is still kind of a.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's, I don't know. I feel I have a family and kids and stuff, and it's too much. And I mean, I only get to hang out with him at events, but he's the type of person that if he lived near me, I would hang out with him like every day. He's just such a great guy.
And he is, it's an interesting subject too, by the way, guys, because when you're talking about this, it's a very unique way to talk about it, because John's still here. He's with us, so I don't mean to, I really hope you're not taking this as like, yep, rest in peace, TotalBiscuit, because he's not dead. It's just that this fucking thing, terminal cancer, is that there is a time where they basically say, we're going to try to make you as comfortable as possible, and, you know, that's it. And that's where we're at. And kind of, as a last thing, because I don't want to, I just want the community to know about this and to hear this from us, but as a last thing, I'm in the same boat as Dan and Jessica, where like when he announced he had terminal cancer, I was really sad, but for some reason I was like, he's gonna beat that. There's no way. And for a long time he did that, and that's amazing. And that's, I have so much respect for TotalBiscuit as a person that just like will fight on and do everything he can. And that spirit was in StarCraft. Like there was, we can't announce numbers and talk about stuff like that too much, but just know what he did behind the scenes and how hard he fought to make things a reality and to put content out there that you guys are really excited about is amazing. And I hope that we can take that kind of tenacity and stubbornness and be inspired by it. So, like I said, please do support him if you can, and know that we love him. So moving on to other subjects in the show, I think as a host, I'm learning we probably should have done the TotalBiscuit subject at the end there, because I'm a little bit rocked as well. But there is some stuff to talk about in StarCraft, and then we'll call it a show. The big segment went pretty long there. There was the how do you pronounce Hangzhou? Is it Hangzhou, Dan?
Hangzhou, maybe?
Hangzhou? There was the Hangzhou StarCraft Festival, and we had a couple of interesting things happen there. Before I turn over to Dan to talk about the Brood War interesting thing, Neeb did end up winning the StarCraft 2 tournament, and he beat, was it Rogue to get there as well?
He beat Hero Innovation.
I thought he beat Rogue.
He beat Rogue in the, okay, so it was basically 10 players, right? 5 Chinese players, 2 foreign players, 3 Korean players. And the Koreans were Rogue, Hero, Innovation.
Amazing.
The foreigners were Neeb and Scarlet, and then, quite good Chinese players, Time, Cloudy, Cyan, Shishi, and F91. What the hell? Very old school player from StarCraft 1. Anyways, Neeb and Innovation got out of that first group, and then Rogue and Hero out of the other group. And Rogue, by the way, 8-0'd his group. He didn't lose a map. And then Neeb beat him 3-2. Okay, that's... By the way, Rogue played GSL Code S last night. Fucking bopped stats. Bopped him. Okay, it wasn't even close. It was just like, he's like, stats, you're not as good as me. What are you doing? And then Rogue beat Innovation in the 3rd place match. So it's like, I guess Neeb needs to send his replays of stats, but Neeb beat Rogue and then beat the finals 3-1. It's pretty crazy.
And it's kind of a funny tournament too, because this all happens, and if it was any other player, I think we'd be going ballistic. But because Neeb has actually hit that place now where that's a really big deal and that's awesome, it's also almost expected a little bit, right? That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Earned a lot of money.
And that is how they actually ended that part of it too, is they handed him 2 giant stacks of cash.
Yeah, that was cool. I like those pictures.
It's cool, but it's funny because it's esports funny. It's like you don't walk through the airport. Anyways, it's just silly.
He won like 32,000 USD about approximately. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
So that's crazy. Awesome for Neeb. Look out WCS.
By the way, this, from what I understand, okay, this is all probably third hand that I'm talking about this. This was run by a rich Chinese businessman.
Yeah.
Just throw it out there. Kind of interesting. Apparently someone he's like in the financial services or something. He is in his 30s.
Yeah, that's happened a couple. Isn't that well, isn't like the mega big sponsor that puts on the event for like $1 million? Wasn't that also just the biggest company in China just does that? They're just like, we like StarCraft.
Well, I think they're trying to make esports, so I think that's why that's happening. Yeah, but this guy, like, I don't think this is like I don't know if this is a business focus for him or not. It's hard to say.
Well, I didn't see this.
But anyways, it's just kind of.
There's somebody upset about spoilers in the chat. That would be one of my favorite things in the whole world.
Hey guys, it's a StarCraft talk show.
It's like watching the news and they talk about who's elected. And they're like, "Come on!" But the more interesting story, I think, because Neeb is such a goddamn legend that we kind of expect that, is what happened on the Brewer side. So, Danny, can you tell us what happened over there?
Well, as interesting as it is that Neeb top end prize pool there with a lot of good players, the StarCraft 1 side is kind of crazy. Okay, and again, presumably, or this is what I've read on Team Liquid or through people that I've spoken to or whatever, right? So you can't take this as 100%, but let's call it true because I'm pretty sure it all is.
Okay.
So first off, Savior, the initial match-fixing Savior, who almost took down StarCraft Esports, which, by the way, was bigger than basically all the other sports in South Korea at the time, basically helped to tank that.
It's so big, by the way, guys, that there's actually legitimately people at Blizzard right now that would rather Dan is not mentioning that name. His impact, how big it was, there are people who would like it if he was never talked about again.
Yeah, well, that's something that I want us to talk about, is whether or not that should be the case, because Savior was invited to this event as a player. He's super popular in China. He streams currently on some Chinese things. Just for whatever reason, the Chinese fans really love Savior. He was, in his era, the greatest player in the world, right? He was a Bonjoy, the only Zerg Bonjoy we ever had in StarCraft 1, which means greatest player or whatever, right? So, pretty impressive. But because Savior was playing, apparently they invited Flash, Jaedong, and Stork to this tournament, and they all refused because Savior was playing.
Which is interesting because in the past, I would say that means their team said, you're not doing this thing. But now that they're pretty individual, I mean, I know that they're probably still mother-henned by somebody.
They are actually just streamers. They have contracts with Afrika to be streamers there. But
I would tell you, though,
that this is an image thing.
No, I don't know, Dan. I think I would say that someone told them you cannot go. I would almost guarantee.
Well, we can talk about that in just 1 second. I just want to throw places tournament.
Your mic's cutting out again. What'd you say?
The first place prize pool for the StarCraft 1 is more than the ASL first place prize pool. So it's a lot of money on the line. That like if Flash goes, he wins. That's it, right? There's no. He doesn't even need to play the games almost. But yeah. What
were you gonna say, Jessica?
I was gonna bring up, and I was trying to find the actual report of it, but the players that did participate in this tournament were just banned from another one. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to find where it's from. I read it while I was streaming, so I didn't read the entire thing.
That's so interesting because there were just amateurs. There was an amateur qualifier that took place, and Scan. He's a pretty popular Korean streamer that speaks English. Really high-end Terran player that almost gets into ASL every season, but just barely doesn't. He played, so he's disqualified from something now?
Someone in chat is saying KCM banned Scan and Shiny.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. KCM is the second most important thing out here, and in fact is fun than ASL. It's KCM is a race wars thing every Monday night, and 3 of the top players of every race come in, and it's round robin. You see which race comes out on top. It's a sick tournament with great casters and stuff. Wow. That's a big deal.
Because they went to a tournament that Savior was at.
Right.
Try to wrap your head around that, guys, in the chat, by the way. If that's not making the logical connection for you, because this is actually, you wouldn't see this anywhere else except for in Korea, where that's how they do it. When they were on a team, they didn't have a choice. They just went to them and said, you're not going to that tournament, you're not going to that tournament. And behind the scenes, and this is again another segue, but I think people this is interesting shit. When I was a part of the NASL, Boxer's wife and Slayer's Boxer, the team or whatever, the Slayers, they agreed to come out, or they qualified. I can't remember which it was. I think they qualified to come out to the NASL offline season 1 finals. Once the tickets were booked and everything was squared away, like a few days before, they reached out to Russell Pfister. You can't make a name up like that. The guy that owned and ran NASL, and they said, if you don't offer us a higher appearance fee, like per player, no Koreans are going to your tournament. And it was a tournament that had at least 50%, if not 75%, were the top tier Koreans. And they actually put that gun to his head. And I don't know the exact details of what he did to resolve that, but those are the kind of tactics and those are the kind of things that absolutely go on in Korea when it comes to some of the stuff. So they didn't want anybody, they can't stop these people from going to Korea anymore because they're not on teams, but what they can do is say, all right, well, you're banned from our tournament. For what reason? You attended that other one. Try to think about that. If somebody banned me from shit because I went to a tournament that they didn't like the person that was there.
Yeah. Well, this is, there's obviously very strong feelings against Savior, who, by the way, didn't win he got second place to Shiny, who 3-0'd him. But now Shiny can't even, Shiny's like one up and coming amateur on the brink of getting into things like ASL or playing in KCM, and the fact that they're getting banned. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is a called for punishment based upon what Savior has done? I don't even know what to think. I didn't even know, so thank you for bringing that up. So that's crazy, but
yeah, what do you think, Jessica?
Well, it's a bit bizarre because I don't think they were warned before they went to the tournament. That's like, regardless of what else you think about the circumstance, you had to tell someone like, hey, if you're gonna come here, you're gonna be banned from a thing. You can't just be like, wait, what? Oh, they did? Oh, that's really sucky. I guess I banned them now. That doesn't seem fair, and I'm not even sure about banning them from participating in. It'd have to be a big streak of constantly inviting the match fixers and giving them seeds, and then also being involved in its own match fixing scandal. Was that a gangster giving you a bunch of money? Who knows? Then I'm well, still you have to say, hey, don't participate in this tournament before you actually ban the guy.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of different things because Savior, what he did was absolutely appalling and terrible, and there have been others since then in match fixing, and the impact it has on overall esports, but specifically StarCraft, is deep and bad. The only but I would offer here is there's no definitive how long of a sentence do you serve. Savior was at the absolute top of his game, and he was just blackballed correctly from everything at the time, but that is over 10 years ago, or it was about 10 years ago at this point.
It was 10 years ago, yeah, right around
10 years, and he has since then apologized. He did not. He was out of Brood War when he was out of it. He was actually kind of funny because he was a bit of a boogeyman. Every time there was an unknown player that was doing really well, they're that's Savior. But then he's also just now coming around and trying to stream and do these different things. So what is it? Is he gone forever? And that's where that's the funny murky waters we're in, because there's no governing body. Mm-hmm. Blizzard hasn't come out and said, Savior shall be never to play StarCraft again. That didn't happen. They just kind of, both Korea and Blizzard just kind of were yeah, that was terrible. You're never going to be mentioned and you're out. But how long?
Well, yeah, I think in Korea and probably by Blizzard, me guessing, but I live in Korea and I work with Blizzard, so I would say Savior's probably banned forever. But actually, the thing I'm actually almost even more interested in now is how Shiny and Scan banned for. Because you can't ban them forever, because that's the same thing that you did to the guy who actually, right? So this can't be as severe. What? I don't know. It's such a bizarre... Mm-hmm. Interesting turn of events.
That I have a completely separate take on, because I think that is one of the biggest crocs of shit I've ever heard. You do not, that is such a schoolyard bully way to try and administer justice, where you're this thing this person did is so bad that we want to ban them, and then you do ban them, and then something that you don't have control over hosts a tournament. So what you do is you punish the people that attended the tournament, to try and make it very clear that Savior's not to touch anything else. Oh my God. If you cross-applied that model to other things, not only does it break laws in most civilized places, but it just is not how you can ever do business. Like, I really don't like Walmart, so I'm going to sit outside of a Walmart, and everybody that goes in there, I'm going to throw boogers and poop at them. Like, actually, as I say, there's people that do that shit. But that's actually the level of what you're doing. Like, that is what that is. I would ban Savior, and then I would be, if I'm Blizzard or Korea, and I would say, okay. And if he finds a StarCraft tournament to attend to, great. We won't cover it. We're not going to talk about it. If that company comes to us and asks for a StarCraft license for something, we're going to tell them, hey, we don't like that you did this thing or whatever. You're going to handle it behind the scenes, and you're going to make it so that issue is very clear, that it makes it hard to do business. But you don't retroactively, and like Zombie said, like, the players, did they know or not? I bet they didn't, right? They just like got home and were like, cool, we had this great tournament. They're like, cool, and you're also banned from the stuff here. I think that's terrible.
Okay. Like, I don't disagree with you, but I think there's a completely different perspective here.
Do it.
So Savior really fucked up everything out here terribly, terribly badly, as we all kind of know, right? And for these guys to go over, it's like they're crossing the picket line of not playing with this guy, not like so basically look at this, okay? Shiny won over 30K. So if you look at modern professional Brood War, he's won more than everyone but Flash. He has won more money than everyone but Flash because he was willing to go play with Savior. So is that fair to all the other pros? Like, right? It's like if Flash and Jadong and Stork are invited and they don't go because this is something that is morally incorrect to do, you cannot help this in any way. No one should be inviting Savior in these guys' opinions, I guess.
Yeah, but it's the wrong mechanism as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't... You're still punishing the players, and it's just that some players knew the rule and someone told them that you're not to go over there, and then others didn't.
Well, we don't know that, right?
We don't know otherwise as well.
I mean, it might have been announced. It might just be... Well, the thing is, KCM is a caster's little tournament that he does, and it's super awesome. It's not something like ASL that's kind of like open qualifiers for everyone all the time and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think that they can just ban him and be like, look, you guys really fucked up. This was like fucking dirty that you went over there and won $1,000, like, because everyone else said no, right?
I'm just really uncomfortable with that notion that, like, these other top players didn't go because either they morally thought it wasn't right, or they were specifically told if they went they'd be banned, or they can't. Mm-hmm. And then other players, completely under their own volition, were like, no, that's real money. That's a chance to travel as a pro gamer to go play at another tournament. Oh my god, we just had this story where, do you see what we're doing? We're tying it all together. It's beautiful. It's like a Seinfeld episode. And then they come home and they're like, yeah, well, I so didn't like that you did that. You're now banned from my tournament. I really am uncomfortable. And this is, like, if that rule is in, by the way, it's on a website, maybe I'm not informed, so maybe it is, where they're like, hey, if you play with Savior or Life, you will not be doing anything with our tournaments. These guys knew that. They went anyways. I'm completely okay with it. Now it's fair. If they don't know and they're being punished because they were supposed to know that you're never to touch Savior ever, if you, like, not even touch, but like if he's at a tournament and you attend it and you're just as guilty as he is as far as they're concerned, wow, that's severe. That's way beyond what I could imagine.
Okay, so yeah, we don't know what the actual sets were or if they were contacted beforehand. I want to give the benefit of the doubt that they probably said something, but I don't know. But I think there's also like a very big cultural difference here. American culture and Korean culture couldn't really be more far apart, and just the whole, the looking at the honor of the situation or whatever. It's not that it's not like samurai culture or something like that, but it's like this guy really fucked things up. Everyone's saying no. These are guys that said yes. That's fucked up that you said yes. Maybe the thing is, I know Scan personally. I really like Scan. He's a friend. He's been to my house and stuff. He's a cool guy. I think he does a lot of cool stuff for the community. Just being a streamer that's a Korean that speaks English is fantastic. So I'm sad that he's banned from this. I haven't seen him play in KCM before, but
No, you hit the nail on the
Yeah, I
head.
don't know.
It is cultural. I'm gonna just say, and this is the future of the show and everything. No culture, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Dan, but just like from my perspective, no culture is infallible or cannot be critiqued, and that's including my
absolutely.
own. That's including subcultures. So and I'm saying this more as like a declaration to not you guys but our audience, because there is this weird tacit belief where someone's like, oh, well, that's cultural. Hang on, that's cultural. To me, as long as you conduct yourself in a respectful manner and kind of say, if I started going all weird and racist-y, then I think it's terrible. But if I can look at a situation and say, in my opinion, from my perspective, to go to that kind of scorched earth, blow everybody out of the water, make it really clear that he's just, we hate him so much that anyone who goes near him is punished. From my perspective, from my upbringing, I am uncomfortable with that. I don't like it. And we can talk about it. And again, I'm very heavy handed,
totally.
not because of you, but I just want it to be very clear. In future, when I have this discussion, that's where it's coming from for people to know. So you can clip this moment in time.
Yeah. Well, if anyone starts trying to go after anyone that speaks their mind on this show for something like that, then you guys should go somewhere else.
Oh, it's coming.
Really.
It's coming. It's episode 7, I think, is when it's happening. So that's interesting stuff. Check it out. It's on Team Liquid. Let's move it along, though. A couple quick subjects. Well, we'll end with the cool one. But let's go to this. StarCraft 2 now has paid content and arcade maps. Jessica, have you checked that out at all? Have you seen that?
I mean, I've seen it. I haven't played it.
I checked it out a little bit.
I tried to do the news thing. I was like, Jessica. She's like, no, Jeff, not at all. I'm like, all right,
No,
damn.
I'm just like, I mean, wow.
Did you guys play any? So Jessica, you didn't, but Jeff, did you play any?
No.
Okay, so I can at least talk about them. I did not get to play it. I bought them both $5 each, if I recall correctly. I just have my PayPal hooked up. I just buy everything StarCraft 2. So but one is called ArcStar, and it's a tactical turn-based RPG featuring Protoss.
Very cool.
So I watched the little video that they released. That's where I got that little blurb, and it looks pretty cool. It looks really well made. And then the other one is called Direct Strike, and it's an upgrade from Desert Strike, which is really interesting in this regard, right? That this guy made this because Desert Strike is super popular. Yeah. It's so popular that I know that there's at least one company in China that is making a game just like Desert Strike that's standalone, because it's like just a very popular game mode. People really like that. So that's kind of cool that someone made like a better version of Desert Strike now.
I just love the concept. It's been talked about a lot, but it's fun seeing this changing of times as well, where Blizzard has this amazing editor. It always has, and I want to say a lot of, to be scientific, but I think it's all their games, especially in StarCraft 2, that they're giving a way for people to make content and get paid for it. But also it's smart by Blizzard, right? Because we actually have some of the biggest games in the world were spawned from Blizzard, like their editor. Dota, if you don't know what I'm talking about, which would be incredible. But even like, it's just amazing that kind of stuff has happened. We should almost have a whole show about it. But that's really cool. So check it out. The arcade is free to play, by the way. So if you're watching this, you're like, I actually uninstalled StarCraft. Well, it's fine. You can actually just play it for free. You can play most StarCraft things for free. But check out the arcade. Those are some cool games. And like Dan was saying, Desert Strike, by the way, it's not just that it's so big that there's a company in China making the game. There are people who have played StarCraft for 10 years or longer, and that is their entire experience, is the UMS stuff. Yeah. And specifically, Desert Strike was one of the top 3 of all of them, I think, if not the most popular. Bunker Defense might have been.
Even I used to play Bunker Defense, man. That was a great game.
Not me. I was way too tryhard. But this last subject, okay, one more subject, then we'll get into the Q&A, is the ASL Round of 8 happened. And not only did the Round of 8 happen, but gods can bleed and all these cliche sayings. Dan, how was it?
Okay.
The maps got him.
No, I'm going to go the other way on it.
That's it, Dan. Maps got him.
No, look, the maps were tough, and Terrans were falling out throughout the tournament, dying to maps. And in fact, another Round of 8 matchup, Mind versus Hero, which was a fantastic best of 5, went 3-2 to Hero. But Mind just auto-lost on Sparkle. It was stupid. So that, I would say maps maybe got him there. Maybe Hero wins on a different map, but like that was crazy. Now, these maps specifically are really good. Sparkle's so Zergo's Terran, but like the other maps are like very good for Protoss versus Terran. But that Flash vs. Snow match might be like the best match I've ever seen. It's one of, at least. It was madness, and Flash showed that you just shouldn't whine about balance. He figured shit out for all the maps. One of the maps he had to play twice, he brought two completely different strategies to it and played both of them awesomely. Ended up losing both of them. Obviously, he had to lose 3 games there. But, like, it was sick. The hardest map, he actually won. The hardest TVP map, Transistor, right? And then the map that Snow vetoed because it was the most even. Snow won in the long macro game. So it's like, it really, what can you say about map balance, right? Because Flash won the map that he was supposed to, Snow won the map that he wasn't supposed to, right? With quotey fingers in the air. It was just, it was a crazy, crazy series. It was really good. There was some amazing stats that went along. Fucking people say, like, Flash is, you shouldn't shade Artosis that Flash is the greatest gamer. It's like, look at what Faker did. No. Flash, that was the first best of 5 against Protoss that Flash has lost in 11 years. I want to throw that out there.
Wow.
11 years. And Snow finally did it, but Snow played out of his mind. It was a great series. Go watch it. And now we have the round of 4, which is Rain versus Hero and Mini versus Snow. So 3 Protosses. One will be going to the finals at least. And maybe a repeat from Hero in the finals.
And you can watch it on YouTube at Africa TV, right?
Ooh, I think it is Africa TV YouTube. I don't know the exact link. Kind of go through sc2links.com. Maybe my favorite website. They track all those VODs, make it easy.
Do you watch Brood War at all, Jessica? Or?
I do, actually. I like Brood War quite a bit. I did catch the games of Flash. So I was cheering for him. I was casting literally at the same time, though, so I literally had to alt-tab when things were happening in StarCraft 2 to go check out what's happening in Brood War.
Wow.
But yeah, and I have a thing where I actually cheer for people who are going to win. It didn't sound very exciting for the people, but he didn't win, so I was let down.
Oh, you like cheer for the favors? What you're saying?
Yeah, I do that a lot. Like
God.
Innovation, people are like, I can't wait for Innovation to lose, and I'm like, hey, Innovation's going to win again. It's going to be great.
My loyalties, it's so funny. It's like, it's a home or team, right? So like if it's the Washington Seahawks or the Mariners or something like that, or when I was on Evil Geniuses, I could watch the other games, but as long as it was my squad, I was like interested. And then it is like the race I play. So if I watch Protoss streams, that, and then there's this gigantic chasm after that. Gigantic chasm. But then it's underdog. I always cheer for underdog. That's just the way I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the way I'm wired.
That's pretty normal, though. I think your way is pretty normal.
Yeah.
But what Jessica does is definitely a bit backward.
She's like, she's a villain, I think. She's like a real life
status quo, status quo, status quo.
No, let's psycho.
God, I just wanted Flash to win his 4th ASL.
Yeah, exactly. Continue on forever.
I think it's like
I did want that too.
It might be a control thing, you know. As long as things fall into place and everything's just the way it was expected, then you're safe and secure, maybe. Everything's
safe.
I'm just man, I found it. I thought I had avoided becoming my mom, but I'm actually a control freak in StarCraft 2.
There we go.
Oh no. Oh my god.
We get them everywhere. I am going to find these questions, and I was hoping I'm just going to do it straight up in the Discord group. I thought we had them right here, but maybe not. So just give me 1 second as I pull up. So let me describe this for you guys, by the way, because I'm on a bit of a crusade. I have been for my entire life online. We post things on the Pylon Show on Twitter. We tweet it out. We do make some threads, but mostly it's the Twitter. There's this Discord. It's over here on my other monitor, but it could be on your monitor too. You join it. It's free. You can talk about the show. If you're enjoying the show, please do this, because right now, if I'm like watching Roddy stream and someone's like, "Hey Jeff, there you are. When is the next episode of The Pylon? Where can I watch it? What time does it start? Is there a Discord? If there was a Discord, how do I join it? Discord, what is that? How do I get it?" And then it follows me around forever, and I can't get away from it. So if you could do that for me, that'd be great. We're going there now, and I'm going to pull some questions. I'm just going to start from the bottom and move it up there.
All right.
And I'm going to scroll past. There's a lot of repeat questions. So if you're asking questions like, what's your favorite matchup? No. I'm a professional producer. Are you guys having some way one could... Damn it. Okay. This is a big ass one. I'm going to ask this. I'm going to look for the next question. Maybe you guys have an answer off the top of your head. This is from Doc Holliday because he's fucking awesome. What was the most memorable game in esports history for each of you guys? So I'm going to change it to one of. What's one of the most memorable esports games? And when he says esports, we're talking StarCraft, okay? Because that is all that is esports, right?
Well, I mean, if you had an answer that was a different game, then
you're a traitor. You're a dirty, dirty.
Well,
traitor.
it just means you haven't watched enough StarCraft, and I feel
okay.
bad for you. And why are you here?
Or that.
Anybody? Does any game leap out to you?
There's so many games though. Like, I mean, there's obvious answers of all, like, you know, like Scarlet versus Bomber, or like most recently the Showtime versus Cyril, was it? So like, I want to think of all those, but the one that impacted me the most, I'm going to consider the most memorable game, was Jaedong beating Deer, was it, with like the Broad Roaches at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Like, Jaedong was the guy that I cheered for the most, and I didn't think he was going to do it. He always was a little shaky, and then he just like absolutely like pounced on the guy, and that was like the sickest hype cast as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there definitely are quite a few games. One that always pops in my mind anytime anyone asks me about games that I've ever seen, I can't stop it. It just automatically comes to my mind. Reach versus I Love Uv, round of 4, OSL, a million billion years ago. There was one game in particular, my favorite in that series, on the space map. I can't remember the name of the map. It's so long ago. Just the craziest macro game you've ever seen, and the manliest Protoss ever to have lived, fighting against the greatest macro Terran ever. It was just the most insane game. That series. I'm gonna have to rewatch that again soon.
Couple good ones in the chat too. What's his name? Shmi, I think it was talking about Kiwi Kaki versus Stefano at IPL3. I was in the audience for that mothership Vortex, and at the time, it wasn't something that I'm not going to say it was the first time it was ever done. That's obviously not the case, but it wasn't like an actual strategy that everyone knew about. It certainly Stefano didn't know about it, and it was one of the sickest comebacks on that kind of a stage ever. Some other ones for me, I don't remember which game it was. I think it must have been game 5 or 7, but Thorzane versus MC in whatever that Team Liquid tournament was they put on.
Yeah, that was
God damn,
that was a sick game.
That was not just a sick game, but the hype casting, the result of Thorazane once again kind of standing up to tyranny. It was amazing. For me, personally, and it's for very different reasons, but speaking of Thorazane, seeing Thorazane win DreamHack in front of the Swedish audience, and I was the host in that circular stage, and the whole place blowing up, and just that moment in time was amazing. It was really cool.
I want to add one in, a StarCraft 2 game, actually, that always comes to mind. Games I ever saw, Maru versus Effort, the StarCraft 1 guy, when he was still playing in Pro League. They played one TVZ. It was one of the best TVZs I ever saw. If you look at the actual metagame and the way ZVT had been at that point, Effort was bringing out some of the newest, most brilliant shit I've ever seen in that game, and it was crazy.
Yeah. So this is from Gemini. For Artosis, how much do you and Tasteless talk specifically about your guys' casting? I'm sure it's changed over time, but how much would you guys talk about improving the casting, different casting strategies, etc.?
Okay. Well, I actually kind of talked about that earlier, just slightly.
Did, yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, we talk about our casting mostly every day that we cast. It kind of matters. There'd be a day it's like quick in and out. We're busy. We just go, but we generally meet up, talk a little bit before, talk a little bit after a lot of the time, and kind of, it's certainly changed over the time, and we keep trying to keep it fresh. Like Jeff, I'm sure you're very pleased that Tasteless no longer does intros of the players in the bottom right and the top left.
I like how I started complaining about that, and it kind of like wormed into people's brains because I hear it in all the casts too. Where Roddy's like, "Go ahead, it's Jeff's favorite thing." You guys are all aware of it. I hate it now.
Well, right now we're giving a little tryout, being quiet during that. I don't super like it, but anyways, no, we work on it very regularly and try to keep it fresh, and especially if anything changes, like every round is a little bit different. We get a little bit more serious in the round of 8, for instance. Round of 32 can be a little bit more technical as far as casting goes. When we had Code, that got entirely technical because it's like you can't hype When you get super low, there's just too much shit. It becomes disingenuous. Obviously, if we're overseas or we have a different audience, like for instance, if they're like, oh, this is going out on TV or to a more general audience, we'll dumb it down at that point and we talk about the ways that we want to hit things. Like for Pyeongchang, we had a lot of talks about that because it was on the Olympic channel and stuff like that. So, you know, dumbing that down and trying to fix that. And then, you know, and if we're doing something that's different from the norm, we'll talk in between on commercials and stuff about how it's going and what to change.
Zombie, you were everywhere. I was just thinking that too. I already had my joke lined up for it, but one of the people asked, they were going to ask a very interesting question about dating in the pro gaming scene. I was like, well, Dan and I are married, so that's a skewed question. It's really hard to date when you're married. I want to just ask the same question to Jessica, basically, because I want to see if this is because I kind of know this about some of the other commentators that are fresher and, well, you're not new at all, but I guess have joined us in the like WCS broadcast, stuff like that. Do you talk to people about improving your commentary? Do you have anyone you go to, or is that something you don't really do?
I thought you were going to legit ask me the dating question.
No.
Yeah, so me and Fear Dragon actually talk a lot.
That was actually what I was thinking of. I'm not going to... Go ahead, yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah, I think, like, very, like, I do a lot of my own, like, self-criticizing. Like, I honestly, like, on a scale of 1 to 10 how well I take criticism, it's probably not that good. I have to, like, give myself 10 minutes after hearing criticism, and then I'm going to, you know, calm down and be like, okay, yeah, that was legit. But me and Fear Dragon, like, we just talk about ideas of how to cast and what to do. We don't necessarily, like, nitpick each other. And, like, we cast together, we set up, like, time to go over the storylines and the interesting things about the cast. So, yeah, I do talk quite a bit with him, but otherwise it's just self.
Okay. I think that's interesting. Because you're right about the feedback part, by the way. That's the other thing I've had to work on over the years is I'm a little bit famous for this. It used to be like people are like, I don't like Jeff something, and I'd be the first guy to be like, I don't like your mom and your butt smells like poop, you know, or whatever. That was kind of my go-to, like, hey, you're dumb. But there's actually a huge value. It's harder as a commentator because you're front-facing thousands of people and a lot of people have an opinion. But if a lot of people are saying something, it's generally a good time to self-reflect. Like, okay, I've noticed that for myself. I would even just to put myself out there. But so, for instance, like the Holiday Bash and some of these StarCraft Brood War events we've done, remastered really. You know, my role, if you will, is oftentimes to be that personality, the couch person, the analyst, or whatever. But I joke around a lot. But sometimes, and this is a huge revelation. Sometimes I take it a little bit too far. I push for too much joking, or my joke is a little bit, it's awkward. It puts my co-personalities in a weird place. All that kind of stuff I've been guilty of countless times. But it really is cool because at least at this stage in my career, I've instead of being like, you idiot, I instead like hear it and I go, okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. But the other funny thing about criticism and commentary is not all of it's right. In fact, most of it's wrong, which is a really hard, weird line to walk, where people will be like, I don't like that Jeff. I don't think he's funny, and I don't like him, and his personality is bad. And it's like, well, there's nothing really to glean from that. But if someone else is saying something like Jeff dominates the discussion too much, I can hear that, and maybe it's still not necessarily completely true, but there's parts of it that's true, or a degree of it that's true, and if you're more aware of it, you can kind of employ that into your own criticism, which is, you know, an important thing to kind of keep doing.
Yeah.
One or two more questions here. I had one and then I got all answery into my own damn question. You know what? This gets asked a lot, and I can't wait, because if you guys could solve this, there's about 1,200 people that need the answer right now. And I'm not even joking when I say this, because it's literally been asked to me dozens of times. What are your guys' thoughts on Mass Raven in StarCraft 2?
Oh, God. That comes up all the time.
All the time!
Do you guys care about anything else?
All the time! But seriously answer it so we can stop getting asked.
I think that it's actually not that bad. I think that it provides a super late game answer for Terran, which sometimes felt a little lacking. And the amount of times that I see it is not as much as people feared or I feared. The style that's played with it is not the style I feared is going to be played, which, super turtly boring. So I am completely fine with Mass Raven in the late game.
It's sometimes it looks really stupid, but I think people are going to get better against it. I think that a lot of the games where I see it and it seems imbalanced, I can find like 40 things that the Zerg player's doing wrong. It's like, well, I don't know. Have you tried spreading units or hitting somewhere else? All these different things. So you always need time, especially against some of these really, really good late game things, to find a way around it. There's countless examples of this. In fact, even the Swarm host, the old Swarm host that were all is gone. Right before it got patched, Hero was making big progress on killing Swarm host players. Well, we got rid of it, and that's fine. That's fine. Like, we have a different looking game now, but I'm just saying, like, even that, which was the most broken late game that we've ever had, like ever, is late game Swarm host, ZVP in Heart of the Swarm. And Hero was almost through it. Like he was trucking along, figuring it out. So
Brewlord and Fester has something to say about that, but you're
at least top. I mean, there's a lot of different ones, but I mean, right? It's just over time, things do get figured out.
I would just say, go ahead.
No, actually, if you're going to talk about Ravens, go first, because mine's kind of like a small rant. In your
Same
section.
here. No, go ahead. I never talk about the topic. Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys. I don't know how many times people give the reasoning that I say something or Ripken says something or anyone says something as well. They play that race. That's obviously what they're going to say. And I'm like,
yeah.
At the same time, all you guys also just say you're a caster, not a player. So stick to doing what you do, which is casting a fuck ton of games and trying to enjoy them. You can't say the same thing in 2 sentences, right? I'm not a Terran player. I'm a caster who watches late game Ravens, and I determine based off hundreds of games that I cast if it's boring and stupid or not. Not that I play it and I have a viable way to defeat late game Zerg or Protoss. Let me get that out there.
I just like the idea that every StarCraft person is so self-serving that any answer they give is because they play that race.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed that. No, the slight thing I was going to say is off Dan's point, which is so incredibly true. There have been very few grossly imbalanced things that were just from the beginning imbalanced and to its full kind of scope imbalanced. A lot of times a new map comes out and people are like, this map is absolutely terrible, but then you learn that you kind of play it a little bit differently in different build orders and it kind of breaks the meta, and then the map becomes more okay. There's different matchups where people are like, this is unwinnable right now, and then you figure out there's a different thing going on right now, you kind of adjust and the numbers start to equalize a little bit more. It's kind of funny, and what's been good about StarCraft is there's been very few knee-jerk reactions to that, because if you ask a pro gamer, if you grabbed all the pro gamers, and you could fit them in my arms just about, you can grab them all over here and you hug them together, you go, what do you guys all want? And they kind of look up at you and they'd go, for things to never change, can we just get it to the same 3 maps and just have the same 2 builds on every map and every matchup? And if we could just play out the game from there, that'd be great. And then you look at all the pro gamers and you go, you're all fucking stupid. That would be a terrible game. And nobody would like it. And in fact, you guys wouldn't like it. You complain the entire time. And they'd look up at you and be like, you're probably right. And you're so smart. And I'd be like, yeah, I know. And then you put the pro gamers aside. Every time. If you follow them on Twitter, it's one of my favorite, I just kind of go into the fridge and I grab myself a Coca-Cola, a little popcorn, and go, and I'll be like, what's going on, Kevin? The map pool's changed, honey. Twitter's about to be fucking hilarious. And then I sit down and they're like, I can't believe the star-studded purple banner is on this. And, just read it all up. Every time. The map's changing, by the way. We'll talk about it probably in the next episode or 2. Just give it a minute. Just simmer down. It'll be okay. But that's going to do it for questions. My other favorite thing that was happening here is that while we were answering questions, there's people in chat asking questions to me. There's a Discord. Get in the Discord, ask the questions there. If you see someone asking questions, tell them, please.
Okay, we don't actually have a good link for Discord yet.
If they do !Discord, actually that might.
It just brings up In Control TV.
Yeah,
Discord,
well, that one's fine too, but you're right. That's not the one we're talking about.
Yeah, that's not the right one.
We have a command for it, but we'll try to. I'll put it in the people did exclamation. Yeah, join that one, you guys. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, you can join that one too, but it's not questions for the pilot.
Fair enough. We'll try to make it more discernible. I'll have to put it in the title every time or something like that. We'll figure it out.
We just got to get the channel partner, and I'll try to email this week.
Yeah. So this is the part of the show where I kind of tidy things up, and then we say our goodbyes. And this was awesome. This is great. Oh, there's Cobra in the chat. It's Pylon Q&A. Pylon Q&A.
Aha.
We'll try to get that more out to you guys though. But some stuff. So we changed up the way we did audio real quick. If you noticed, there wasn't nearly as much clipping. We dropped no frames. I think we didn't have any robot voices, so we're still figuring that out. Huge shout out to some of the people who are giving some of those ideas. I know that Rifkin was talking to Cobra on Twitter as well, as trying to help with that. Thank you. And Cobra, just a great job. This guy's actually possibly in a car on a laptop right now doing some production. Hopefully not driving.
That's
Cobra,
that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I hope he's not driving.
It's impressive. It's a quick back and forth. It's impressive. Or if you're driving, it's stupid. So
yeah.
Hopefully,
and oftentimes many impressive things are stupid.
That's true. Unfortunately. So we're working on the audio. We got that. Dan actually has a new mic. It's not plugged in yet, but he just got a new beautiful computer.
Yeah, I have a new computer, and actually a lot of people think I have a new. But shout outs to Merkmate, who said, hey, here's a suggestion, talk in your mic. So I moved the mic in front of my face. I think it sounded this time, but I guess you guys, you don't know. I don't know.
We'll have to rake the brains of Jessica and Rifkin, because their mics sound ridiculous. I know mine sounds pretty good too, but audio is a whole different world, man. And then just a couple more cleaning house stuff, and then we're going to say our goodbyes. We have actually launched a Patreon for the show. I'm going to give you a big description about it right now. It is, if Cobra in the chat could link that, and I'm doing this off the top of my head. I just tried to pull it up, but I actually messed up production and froze your guys' cameras for 2 seconds. So I don't know if you saw that, but nobody's freaked out. So anyways, we're okay. We're going to support the channel through Patreon. We would like to get to a place where we're paying our guests. Sorry, Zombie, we'll have you back on when we're doing that. Because their time is valuable, and also I think it's a cool way to give back to the community. We want to pay Cobra, because Cobra puts in a shit ton of work, and I can't justify asking him to be the lead moderator of my channel and also the producer of the show and earn almost nothing doing that. So
those are kind of moderating your channel.
Get out of here. The show would, my channel would just die. We need those things to happen. And then also Artosis and I would of course like to make money making content as well. That's originally why we pursued getting sponsored and having the show done through Blizzard, but that proved to be too much. So we're asking you guys, if this is content you like or whatever, take a look at the Patreon. There will be rewards, but I would ask that you don't do it for the rewards, because those are going to be very tertiary. Those are going to be something we add to it because we want to, but I'd never want to get the message, hey, I'm a $5 Patreon, you owe me this. If that ever happens, I will vomit inside of myself and become a turtle. I don't want to be
look, if you don't have money or something, it's a big deal. The most important thing is that people watch and enjoy the show.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm going to do that thing that I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they're always saying, hey, why don't you check it out on iTunes and give us the stars? So do that.
There are Dan's right. There's non-money ways to support. Of course, just watching is the first one, but following Dan and I's channel, if we have a cool guest like Zombie Grub, make sure and follow her channel. We'll get to that in the shout-outs, but those are the ways you can do it without money. What we're saying is if you do have money, please do contribute, because in order to do this content, we do have to have it supported. Otherwise, we're just treading water. Other ways to do that, of course, are to sub to our channels as well, donate, that kind of thing. And especially if you earmark it and say, hey, I'm doing this because I like your show, then we can kind of gauge, how productive it's being. But anyways, that's that. We'll talk more about that in the future. This has been a long show. I want to give a huge shout out to Zombie, who came on. Zombie Grub, excuse me. I don't know if you go by Zombie. I call
Fine.
you whatever. You're the only zombie here, so I guess it's okay to cut it down.
Yeah.
She was an awesome guest. She's an awesome person, part of the community. What are you doing? What do you want? Are you streaming? Can people follow you? What's going on?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at DG Gaming, YouTube, Zombie Grub, where I post like build orders and stream highlights and stuff. And then my stream is Zombie Grub, and my birthday is actually coming up on Saturday. Ooh. So yeah, May 5th. And that's going to be a long birthday stream, so you guys should come check it out.
May 5th?
Saturday at like 2 p.m. EST or something. Yeah.
Do you know that's a holiday?
Oh wow!
Did you know
I've never heard that.
Has anyone ever told
27
you that?
years of my life. No one's ever been like, do you go to Mexican every time? Like, is it going to be great?
Wait, what holiday is it?
Oh my Cinco de Mayo, man.
Yeah, that's one of the contributing reasons to my infamous Austin alcohol adventures. So
A couple of your streams have been so fun. That was another funny behind the scenes experience where I was like, "You're a great commentator. I'll check out your stream." I think one of the first streams I watched was you falling out of your chair drunk.
oh, okay, that's
Which
the
was
most,
awesome.
That's I guess the most famous one.
Because
Yeah,
you
no,
kept streaming and commentating from the floor below your desk.
Oh yeah, I called that T-Base Sentry Immortal in on Secret Spring without having to look at it.
That's
That's
amazing.
how good I am.
Very good. So make sure to check out her stuff and big. Not to build it up too much, but her birthday is Saturday, so maybe she'll imbibe, maybe she won't. You know, it's in Canada you can drink at 12, I think, right? So you've been doing it for a while.
I mean, that statement was all types are wrong. You almost got me, but I know you know better.
That's right. Dan the man, are you gonna stream after this?
No.
Okay.
I got things to do.
You got things to do.
But I will stream tomorrow, and I stream, 4 or 5 days a week right now. Just got my new computer, so my stream is not fully set up. But, dude, this new computer, I can stream in
Pentium 4?
1080p with 60 frames per second.
That's a Pentium Extreme, I think. Right?
I don't know what it is, but it was expensive, so it should do that.
An alien
So
player?
that's pretty cool. I'm still getting everything set up. My new microphone actually hasn't come, but I spoke into it this time, so I guess that probably helped quite a bit.
Okay.
I got GSL and ASL. There's still 4 more days of ASL. So, and obviously GSL, we're just halfway through the round of 32. So make sure you're checking all that out. Saturday is the next cast. Xanster's group with Maru, Deer, and Bunny. Pretty insane group right there.
What if there's like a group of people you're streaming Broodware games with and you're doing it at an organized time and place that you could probably talk about?
Well, you would know nothing about that, you dodger. Yes.
I was at my sister's wedding.
Look, we all have our priorities, Jeff. Now I see wedding more playing with me and Machine and Nyokin, okay?
Yep.
But yeah, on Sunday night, that's my Monday morning, we do a little meeting session, and people have really been liking it so far. It's not as much talking to the stream, but we're all on voice chat. This week it was Machine, Elza Gamer, Nyokin, and myself. Before we've had Noni and Rhett drop in. Hopefully one day in Control will man up and get in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of great custom games and trash talk and stuff like that. Really fun. I don't know. I'm blithering on at this point. Nothing's new in my life. I got a new computer and that's it.
Listen, we're doing a StarCraft Talk Show.
Yeah.
We're worried about really cutting edge new stuff. We wouldn't do that. That's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you do check out our Patreon, thank you very much. If you subscribe, follow, and all that kind of stuff to our channels, thank you very much. If you just watched, if you don't give a damn about giving money, guess what? Thank you very much. We love you guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back on, I believe, next week. I will say we're coming up on a week where we're going to have to miss it. There's some WCS travel coming up, so it's going to happen. Or Dan's going to do it by himself. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we made it to 4 episodes, which is, I have to say it, it's the first time Artosis has done that. So can we please?
I hate you more than anything.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, and adios.